Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Flash Forward, the show where I talk about every single issue of The Flash. The last time we did this, it's been a little while because we had two events that we had to do in a row, Our World's at War and Joker's Last Laugh. If you want to hear about those events, you can go and watch the other videos that I did on those. But if you're here for The Flash, we started the Jeff Johns run last time where we went through quite a few issues of that. So if you want to be caught up on everything that's happened in The Flash, I suggest going back and watching that video, because there are some plot threads that are being continued in this video that might be a little bit confusing if you haven't watched that video. We're going to be starting with issue 180 today. But before we get into it, if you're not subscribed, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and comment below what you think of, the issues that I talk about today and anything you really want to talk about when it comes to The Flash. I'll probably, if you have any questions, I'll probably answer them in the comments and stuff. I'm always looking for that kind of stuff. So, yeah, let's get straight into it. As always, it's written by Jeff Johns with art by Scott Collins and Doug Hazelwood. This issue is titled Peekaboo. So the issue begins with Wally and Detective Murillo heading to Iron Heights to try and prove that it's being powered by a metahuman whose name is Fallout. Because when Wally went to Iron Heights in the Iron Heights special that I covered in the previous Flash video, he found that it was being powered by this Fallout guy, and he wants to prove it to them. But when he goes there to show them, Fallout is gone. Murillo believes Wally, but he's like, unfortunately, we don't have proof because there's no Fallout here. And Wolf is like, you should be out accusing actual criminals instead of accusing people like me who are actually doing good. And as we know from previously established issues, Wolf is not a good guy. He's the warden of the Iron Heights prison, and he tortures the criminals there and uses metahumans to his advantage. He also has mental powers that he can use to control people's minds and stuff, which he uses to his advantage. He's almost like Max Lord before Max Lord became evil. It's like if Max was always evil, that's kind of what Wolf is as a character. So there's nothing that Wally can really do about this, except possibly find the whereabouts of Fallout, because nobody knows where he is except likely Wolf. Wally isn't even allowed to talk to Pied Piper, Hartley Rathaway, one of Wally's best friends, who was recently incarcerated in Iron Heights for admitting to murdering his own parents. What Wally doesn't know is that Hartley has also been tortured within Iron Heights. So yeah, they're kind of at a dead end. They can't really do anything. Murillo, in a previous issue, Wally crossed paths with a villain known as Cicada, who had this dagger and a cult of people that all worshipped him. And Murillo was hurt by the dagger, and ever since then, he's had the ability to heal all wounds. And now it's revealed that because Cicada is locked up in Iron Heights, so Wally and Murillo walk past his cell, and Cicada starts talking to Murillo, telling him to let him out. And Murillo's eyes start lighting up with lightning, and he becomes, he's under Cicada's influence. But then he quickly, shakes himself out of it and is like, whoa, what happened? So it seems like the injury that he got from Cicada has turned him into one of Cicada's loyal followers, and Wally doesn't know, and Murillo also doesn't know. He knows he has powers, but he doesn't know that he is being controlled by Cicada now. Meanwhile, Vic Stone, aka Cyborg, is now living in Central City and has become the main hero of Central City. Because I think it was the Our Worlds at War Flash tie-in, Cyborg helped Wally with dealing with stuff during the event, and at the end, Cyborg became the hero of Central City. So he's still getting used to it. He's there meeting Linda for lunch. Linda quit being a reporter previously. Now she's trying to get work as a nurse, which sucks. I don't like it. And then Wally shows up. And he's like, "See you never met again, honey." And she's like, "Of course." There's this guy named Cliff, who is a fellow student in Linda's class. And it seems like Cliff has like a thing for Linda, and Johns is like building up a possible love triangle or something, which again, not really a fan of, especially since Wally and Linda have gotten married. There's nothing fun about, love triangles between characters that are fully married and stuff now. So Wally and Vic are about to go separate ways, and then we cut to this professor who grabs the arm of a mysterious person. He's like, "No, we need it for the operation." And this person is like, "Do not touch me." And then a massive explosion happens, and in slow motion, while he perceives the explosion, he puts on his Speed Force costume and starts catching like shards of glass as this professor is like falling out of the window. And he's like, I'm gonna save the professor. And then he turns and is like, "Actually, I don't need to, because Vic is there." And Vic transforms into Cyborg because in the Titans series, he gained a new clone body that allows him to look normal again, but the clone body still has the ability to create metal parts, so he can make himself look like Cyborg and like do Cyborg stuff, but then he can look human again afterward. So he turns into Cyborg, and he grabs the professor and saves his life. And it's revealed that the person that the professor was touching on the arm is a woman wearing a mask and a costume. Like, she's already a super criminal, even though, according to this issue, she hasn't had abilities for very long at all, and yet she already created a costume. She has hold of this box, and Wally goes to grab her. He's like, "Hey, stop!" And he grabs her, and as she disappears, an explosion happens, and Wally is sent flying. So they immediately put two and two together, where this woman has the ability to teleport, and when she does teleport, she creates explosions. Cyborg assumes that she's going through like little wormholes, and then the explosions are the reverb from the wormholes. The professor comes up to them, and Wally is like, "What was she stealing?" And the professor is like, "It was a kidney. It's a kidney for this woman. She will die if she doesn't get it. So we need to get that kidney back." And Wally's like, "Well, I managed to get her glove, so we'll just turn it inside out and run the prints." And Cyborg is like, "Just let me scan them and dial up an internet connection." And he like opens up his hand, little wire, like a little internet pole comes out of his hand, and he scans the glove to find where this woman lives. It stole the kidney. Meanwhile, Fred Chire, or is it Frank Chire? I think it's Frank Chire, who is a policeman, has adopted the son of Weather Wizard. And Weather Wizard's son, whose name is Josh, has the same powers. So he gave Josh to Tina and Jerry McGee, old friends of Wally West and Linda Park, to see if they could help Josh control his powers. And so he's gone to visit them, and they reveal to Chaya that Josh's powers have has subsided ever since Weather Wizard was taken far out of the city because he's been locked up. So Josh's powers don't seem to be working anymore. So they're like, "Yay, that's great." But then a lawyer shows up and is like, "Chaya, I'm sorry to tell you, but you won't have custody of this child anymore because we checked out the will of the mother, and there is a woman already listed on there who is going to get custody of Josh." And this really upsets Chaya, and he's like, who the hell is it? Like, who's trying to steal this child from me? Like, I was just getting used to adopting this child. I deserve to look after him because I'm the best friend of, like, her father, you know, so I should be, like, next in kin. Who is this woman trying to steal this child? Meanwhile, we learned the identity of this woman who goes by Peekaboo. Her name is LaShawn Bays. And the reason she's stolen the kidney is because her father is dying and he needs it. And she tried to give him her kidney, but the procedure failed, and now he's been put on a waiting list. So she's kind of like freaking out, like, I need this kidney, like, it should work. It's the type that he needs. And then Cyborg and Wally show up. They're like, Miss Bays, you're gonna have to give us back that kidney. And Cyborg, like, hits her with, like, these sound waves, and she's like, no! And Wally thinks that it's only physical touch that makes her teleport and explode. But this is when he realizes that it's, like, any kind of contact causes her to explode. So she disappears. This time Wally sees it happen in slow motion. He describes it as her particles just kind of, like, separating. And then the reverb happens with the explosion. Wally, at super speed, quickly grabs the kidney and he hands it to Victor, and then he contains the little explosion in a vortex and realizes that his vortexes can help contain the explosion, so he comes up with a plan. Luckily, LaShawn just happens to teleport into the same room again, because it turns out that her teleportation is completely random. She doesn't have full control over her powers yet, because she's only recently gotten them. So what Wally does is he zooms around her multiple times, grabbing her every single time to cause her to explode multiple times and teleport throughout the room, until eventually she hits a wall where her powers stop working, and Wally just, like, slaps, like, puts his hand in front of her face, and she just runs straight into his face, and it knocks her out. He's like, alright, that's it. And that's when Wally finds out, like, he sees her father and is like, oh crap. Like, this is why she was doing it the whole time. And so this detective shows up, whose name is Detective Dorsey, and she explains to Victor and Wally exactly why she stole the kidney. And Wally is like, look, guys, I gotta go. I'm sorry. And he runs away. He runs all the way up to the top of a cliff, specifically the Grand Canyon, and he just looks out over it and is like, I thought I was a hero today. So why do I feel like the bad guy? Because he stopped LaShawn from stealing the kidney just to save her dad. And it's like, does that make me the bad guy? Because, like, her dad might die because of what I did. It's one of those tough situations of, like, Wally saved a life, but in doing so, he may have doomed another one. Meanwhile, Nyan Heights' van is transporting Fallout to his home, because Wolf has told him, he was like, get that guy out of here, take him home so we don't have any trouble. And the guys are like, this Fallout guy's been, like, quiet in the back, I wonder what he's doing. And then suddenly Fallout just, like, melts his hand through the back of the van because he has radiation powers, and he melts one of the driver's face. He's just like, ah! And then the van flips and rolls and explodes, and Fallout emerges from the explosion and is like, home. And then, meanwhile, Chaya is just on the phone shouting at Marilla, like, who the hell is taking this child from me? Ah, how dare they? Like, who is it? And then a woman appears behind Chaya and is like, it's me. I'm the woman. And Chaya's like, I know you. Don't I know you? And the woman's like, perhaps, Officer Chaya. My name is Iris Allen. So Iris has shown up, and she is adopted. Like, she apparently has custody, like, from the will, has custody over Josh. So we'll see how this turns out. Hopefully in the next issue. Issue 181. So, issue 181. We begin on a page with snow. the snow begins to melt away, and a radioactive foot just goes on the ground because the radiation is melting the snow around him. It's fallout, and he is ready to make his way home. He's just like, home. Murillo and Wally are having eggnog together, though Wally is the Flash. And Murillo doesn't know that Wally is the Flash. Oh, or does he? Because, like, Wally has a public identity, right? So, like, why is he dressed as the Flash at this moment? Like, Murillo should know that Wally is the Flash. I think Jeff just forgets that Wally has a public identity as the Flash. Like, everyone just knows he's the Flash. So yeah, they're talking about the stuff that's going on with Chaya and how, Josh has been, adopted and that Chaya will eventually be able to move on. He's just sad about the fact that he doesn't get to adopt him. Chaya has visited the local graveyard in order to see the gravestones of Joe Jackham and Julie Jackham. Both of them are his ex-partners. Julie is the daughter of Joe, and that's why he believed that he should have adoption rights over Josh, because he was doing right by Julie by taking custody of her child. I like it's subtle, but there's some gravestones that have "Here lies a child of cicada" on it, which is a cool little detail. Then an explosion happens in the distance, and Chaya's is like, what the hell? And we find a gas station that has just been completely destroyed. There's this guy there who's just like, ah! As he sees Fallout walking towards him, and the guy just starts vomiting because of radiation poisoning, and he's just like, I just want to get home. And he just pretty much melts. His skin just goes all from all the radiation. And as Fallout walks past him, he just murmurs, home? That's all anyone really wants. Murillo and Wally leave the office after drinking their eggnog and begin walking home, and Murillo is just like, so what are you doing for Christmas? And Wally's like, Iris and I are going to spend time together. Sometimes we go on vacation with their parents because they own this place in Maui, but I think this Christmas we're just going to spend it together. And then Murillo is like, why do you do this? Why are you a hero? And Wally is like, well, I'm a hero because I look up to my Uncle Barry, but my Aunt Iris also really influenced me becoming a hero because she could never just stand by and watch people get hurt, and she was always worried about that, and so I think I got that from her, both of those things together, Barry being the Flash, but also Iris being so passionate about saving people, is what pushed me to become the Flash. And then Wally says this stupid thing that is definitely just Jeff Johns trying to make Wally more like Barry, where he's like, but if I wasn't a superhero, I would definitely have been a cop like my Uncle Barry. And it's like, no, you wouldn't. In the Wade run, it was already established that if Wally wasn't the Flash, he would have become a teacher in Blue Valley. That is a thing that already happened. So Jeff, please, stop trying to make Wally like Barry. Just because Barry was his uncle and was a cop doesn't mean Wally is just going to be like, I'm also going to be a cop. No, Wally already had other ambitions that he would have followed, being a teacher. But whatever. Hunter Zolomon shows up, who is the resident rogue aficionado. He knows everything about the rogues, and he's like, Wally, we got a problem. There's this guy, he's named Fallout. He was the guy that was powering Iron Heights. He's escaped, and he's causing chaos throughout the entire city. You need to go stop him. His name is Neil Borman. Here's his entire origin. Basically, he was one of the men that was working on building a nuclear reactor along with a couple of his crewmates. They ended up accidentally falling into the nuclear waters while they were building it. And while his friends were all killed instantly, his work friends, Neil somehow survived and absorbed the radiation, transforming him into a radioactive being known as Fallout. And unbeknownst to him, the people that came to help him were all affected by radioactive poison. And that helped Neil, like, that kind of pushed Neil towards insanity, because without even trying, he hurts those around him. And so Wally's like, damn it. Like, someone lied to me. Like, I knew that Fallout was there. They said that he was, that he was gone, but, like, that he, like, got away. But I'm 100% sure that Wolf was responsible for this, and that he was trying to get Fallout out of the prison, and now look what's happened. Linda is on the phone with that Cliff guy, because Cliff has apparently been helping her study outside of school, and now he's calling her up on Christmas. He's being a bit weird. I don't know. It's kind of hinted that, like, Cliff is already kind of like I wouldn't be surprised if it escalates to Cliff is stalking Linda. Like, it feels like we're getting to that point, especially when he was, like, watching her from a distance as she was with Wally. Linda hears a knock on the door. It's Iris. She shows up with Josh because she's adopted him. Meanwhile, at the Garak household, Joanne is waiting for Jay to come home. He hasn't been home in a while, and she's just waiting on him. And then all of a sudden she starts feeling lightheaded. The flowers wilt around her, and she falls over, and it's because Fallout is walking past her house, so the radioactive energy kind of affected her. She's like, what in the world is wrong with you, Joanne Garak? And she, like, quickly comes back to, like, gets her head straight. Wally finds Fallout. There's a cool shot of Fallout where he just walked straight through a bus, and the bus, like, melted around him, which is really cool. Wally covers his face with his Speed Force suit so that he doesn't breathe in, like, the radioactive energy and stuff. And he's like, I'm not going to take Fallout back to the prison. I can't really do that, so I'll bring the prison to him. So he grabs a bunch of metal junk and starts wrapping it around Fallout, and Fallout's just like, no! And just smashes his way out of the prison, sending Wally flying. Like, he just creates a bunch of radioactive energy that just blasts him out. He's like, I know you. You didn't help me. No one helps me. And then he just melts his way through the graveyard gate where Chaya is there, and he's like, freeze, pal! Don't move! And Fallout's just like, you either. And he just goes, and, like, shoots radioactive energy at Chaya, but Wally grabs him and pulls him out of the way. He's like, what are you doing here? Like, you said you were going to go back to the station. And Chaya's like, I changed my mind. He's like, okay, look, from what I can tell, Fallout builds up neutron radiation, then has to expel it. Chaya's like, he's bottling everything up? And Wally's like, in a way, look at him. His body appears weaker after he was thrown a blast. I need to figure out how to siphon off his radioactivity. So Wally figures out that maybe he can use rods to... because... radioactive, like, reactors use control rods to siphon the energy. So if he uses, like, these metal poles from the gate, he can throw them at Fallout, siphon his energy, and that should hopefully, take him out. So he throws one of the rods at Fallout, it stabs him in the arm, and Fallout's just like, ah! And it works. Like, it starts siphoning his energy, and Wally's like, if I throw another one of these at you, it'll probably knock you out. I don't want to have to do that, because it turns out that Neil has just come here to visit two people that are clearly family members of his, Victoria Borman and Johnny Borman. The other grave is a small one, so I would assume that it's probably his son and wife. And so he's like, I don't want to take you back to the prison. I just want to take you somewhere safe. Because I know you don't want to harm people. But the way you are now, like, that's all you're doing. Like, I know you don't want to hurt anyone anymore. So are you going to step down, or do you want to just have a regular rogue fight? And Fallout is just like, no. Take me back. Take me back home. Meanwhile, Linda has a conversation with Iris where Iris reveals everything to her and is like, well, I knew Julie Jackham. Like, previously, like, I came back from the future and I was living in the present. But I decided that I needed to live away from you and Wally because I was afraid that I would change the future by being there because I knew what happened. But as I was living away from you, I met Julie and I became really close to Julie. Especially because I knew that she had dated Wally in the past. And then I found out that she had gotten pregnant. And Julie believed that it was Wally's child. And so I kind of became like a surrogate mother for her. Like, she looked up to me. And she wanted me, like, she was like, if anything ever happens to me, I want you to look after Josh. And Iris was like, of course I will do that. And then Julie died, which Iris wasn't expecting, because apparently, according to Iris, in the future, Julie would have lived and gotten married to another cop, and they would have lived a happy life. So this is when Iris realizes that the future isn't set in stone, and that she doesn't actually know everything that's going to happen. So instead of staying away from Wally and Linda, she's like, I can be around you guys now, and I can live with you and, like, hang out and stuff, because, you know, I don't know anything about the future. And so me being in the present isn't going to affect the future at all, because I don't know anything about it. And that's kind of Jeff Johns' explanation of being like, this is how Iris remains in the present without ruining the timeline, because she doesn't know, like, because the timeline is never set, and so, like, the future isn't set, and it's constantly changing. And so, yeah, Iris decides to remain in the present to look after Josh. Wally drops Fallout off with the McGees. They very quickly create a room that can sustain him. Yeah, they're currently working at Iron Heights, and they, like, just create a new room for him that he can live in until they figure out a way to, like, cure him or something. And Wally turns to Wolf and he's like, I want you to know something, Wolf. This isn't going away. What was done to him, criminal or not. And Wolf is like, the inmate has never been to Iron Heights before. And Wally is just like, don't even try to play that game. I'll be checking in on you. You may be a friend of the governor's, but that won't always help you. One day you'll slip up and then you're done. Merry Christmas, Warden. And then Wally's just like, yeah, like, it felt good, like, saying that to him. I've been wanting to say that to him for so long. And he heads back home, and he opens the door, and to his shock, he sees Iris. He's just like, hey, Iris! And he gives her a hug, and she's like, Merry Christmas, Wally. And they just, you know, spend Christmas together, talking for hours. Meanwhile, it's revealed that, because earlier I said that Joanne was waiting for Jay. This is when we find out that Jay has been locked in the mirror world by Mirror Master with a fake version of Joanne. And that's why Jay isn't around. And so, Mirror Master refers to this character named Amunet Black, whose name is Blacksmith. She's kind of like the leader of the rogues at the moment. They've been slowly picking off members of the Flash family or any of his allies. You know, they've taken care of Piper, they've taken care of Chunk, Jay, like both of the Garricks, and they're just moving down the list. And Blacksmith tells Plunder, who is another villain who's from the mirror world, that he needs to go and take down their next target, who is Detective Murillo. So Murillo and Chaya are having a drink at a bar, and they're just kind of talking about how, like, you know, Chaya is still upset about the child, but Murillo is like, Iris is going to really look after him. She's a great woman. Like, it'll be okay. And Chaya's like, I still feel like I owe it to Jackie. You know? Well, Julie, sorry. So Murillo is, like, waiting for a taxi to get home, and his phone starts ringing, and he's like, right on time. Knew she'd call. And then, like, a red dot appears on his forehead, and Murillo just gets shot through the head. And he drops his phone on the ground as it's ringing. And then Plunder jumps down. He walks over to Murillo's body, grabs his keys out of his jacket, which they hotshot on him. It's like a running thing of Murillo has hotshot on his mug. He has it on his keys too. He takes Murillo's phone. He pulls off his mask and he's like, hello? Yeah, I'm on my way home. He's like, what do you mean I sound funny? This is your husband, Detective Jared Murillo. And it's revealed that Plunder is the mirror world version of Jared Murillo. Huge plot twist that I did not see coming. Like, I'll give Jeff credit, he pulled that off pretty well. I was not expecting this. Big shock. But yeah, real good. So Plunder is an alternate version of Jared Murillo, and we'll find out what happens next in the next issue. Because we know that Murillo is probably going to survive, because it's already been revealed that he has healing abilities. So I think a shot in the head isn't going to kill him. Leonard Snart draws his cold gun, blasts the front of the hotel door, kicks in one of the windows while he narrates to himself, I vandalize. And he punches a guy in his face. I assault. And then he takes his hotel card. I steal. That's what I do. And some guys appear behind him. Get him! And he draws his cold gun and he blasts at them. They call me Captain Cold. Do I murder? Do I murder? Sometimes, but only under two sets of circumstances. One, if it's kill or be killed. And two, if I'm after good old-fashioned vengeance. Payback. Eye for an eye. Today is payback day. Today I'm on the hunt. Today I'm a murderer. And he enters a nearby elevator, presses the button, and the elevator doors close after he's frozen everybody in the room. This is Flash issue 182, Absolute Zero, a Captain Cold-centered issue, all about Cold's origin and what he is currently up to that is directly related to stuff that happened previously in the series. So, let's take it back many years ago when Cold was a young boy. Leonard Snart was a young man. He lived with his father, who was a terrible person, and his mother too, but not for very long, because his mother ran away from his father because his father was an abusive drunk, because he had a partner, well, he was a cop, and his partner got shot and died during a case, and Leonard's father got shot in the arm, and so he's been living on disability, and he's just a terrible guy, beating his mother up and stuff, beating his wife up, and little Lenny is there, and while his dad's drinking, he's just like, Dad, I love you, Dad. And then his dad's just like, and he grabs his baton and he just starts whacking Lenny with it. He's like, never tell me that. Never tell anyone that. You hear, boy? And then he's just like, but, he's like, love is a sign of weakness. Emotion is for idiots. Stop it. Stop crying. Damn it, boy. And then Lisa Snart, Lenny's younger sister, appears behind their father and is like, why are you doing that, Daddy? Leave Lenny alone. He didn't do anything to you. And that's when their father goes to hit Lisa, and then his hand is suddenly because Lenny is like, no, Dad, don't. And then his father's hand is grabbed by the hand of their grandfather. Grandfather Snart, he's a good guy. Like, he's not perfect, but he's a lot better than their father. And he's just like, you get your hands off those children. Go take a nap. He, like, knocks the dad out. He's like, take a nap. Why are you drinking this poison? And he chucks all the alcohol down the drain. And then he's like, let's go, kids. Like, I'm going to be looking after you for the rest of the day. and he takes them out for ice cream, which is a regular thing that Granddad Snot would do. And Lenny talks about the fact that Granddad Snot, other than Lisa, Granddad Snot was the only good part of his life. And that didn't last long because Granddad Snot eventually passed away when Lenny was only 12 years old. And so they now had no one to protect them from their father. And things only just got worse from them for their living conditions. Their father was brutal. So we cut back to the present where Snot exits the elevator. A bunch of guns are drawn on him. They all start shooting at him. And Snot is just like nothing like a little code field to slow things down, eh? He uses his cold gun to slow all the bullets down, and then he just freezes everyone. He's just like... freezes this guy's arm, smashes his arm. The guy's just like, ah! And then he falls to the ground, and Cold is just like, look, you tell me what I want to know, like right now. Maybe you'll have enough time for the doctors to put the pieces of your arm back together since they're still frozen. And the guy's like, what do you want to know? And he's like, I want to know where Chillblaine is. And he's like, no, Chillblaine's dead. And he's like, I know he's not dead. I know that he works with Jack Monteleone, who is also known as the Candyman. Monteleone is the brother of Joey Monteleone, aka Tarpit, who we saw in a previous issue of The Flash. So Cold wants to find Chillblaine's whereabouts because Chillblaine was responsible for killing Lisa Snot, aka Golden Glider, because they were working together. Like Golden Glider, so the history of Captain Cold and Golden Glider up until this point was that after the stuff that happened to them in the past as kids, which we'll go into a little bit more in this issue, they opened up a business where they became bounty hunters and they started trying to do like good. And Snot even says in this that like we were trying to do good stuff, but in actuality, it was going against everything that we believed in, and eventually the business failed, and that caused the two of us to split up. And after we split up, Lisa went and started doing, like, she started hiring guys, dressing them up in the same costume, and they became her partner, Chillblaine. Most of them were dumb, and were also killed by her. But there was one Chillblaine who wasn't as dumb as she thought, and that Chillblaine tricked her and then killed her, and then he was killed by Dr. Polaris. But now it's retconned that he didn't actually get killed, he faked his own death. And so now he's working for Jack Monteleone, aka the Candyman, and so Cold has shown up at the hotel to find Chillblaine and kill him for killing his sister. So a bunch of guys appear behind Cold as he's trying to get the information out of this guy. They draw their guns on him. He's like, you're looking for me? And it's Jack and Chillblaine. Meanwhile, we get some more flashbacks. Lenny decided to leave home because he had enough of being abused. And Lisa's like, I want to come with you. And Lenny's like, you can't. I don't want you getting involved with these guys that I've decided to hook up with. You're going to have to stay here. And Lisa's like, don't make me stay with him. And Lenny is like, I don't want to, but like, I kind of have to. Like, he's hoping that his father might change if he leaves. Deep down, he knew that he wouldn't. And he didn't. Lisa continued getting abused while Lenny was gone. Which meant that when they would eventually reunite, it took a little bit for them to reconnect because Lisa was still a little bit guarded against Lenny for leaving her with their father. Lenny decides to become a criminal to make money. He joins with this gang, and Jeff just does a weird way of explaining the snow blinders that he wears, because as we know, Lenny has like glasses that he wears. Those glasses are specifically because the cold blasts are really bright, and those glasses are what people use when they go, like, especially like Eskimos. In fact, I think it was like Eskimos invented them, or Inuits is probably the better term to use. Invented them because they live in the snow, like they often live in the snow, so they invented these glasses to help with snow blindness, because the sun bounces off the snow and can blind you if you're not careful. But Jeff decides to explain it in a way, like, just in a weird way that he didn't have to, where he's like, Lenny joined a gang, and the gang has these glasses because apparently the cops' guns are really bright when they shoot them, and they're like, wear these glasses, and their guns won't blind you. So yeah, they have these glasses. The Flash takes them down, and this is the first time the Flash would fight Captain Cold before he became Cold. You know, he would fight Lenny Snart, not knowing it's him. In prison, Lenny would decide that he wants to break out of prison and become his own criminal, like his own, like become a criminal himself, away from this stupid gang that he ganged up with. So he steals some plans to create a freeze gun. Like, he just goes on a computer, finds these plans, steals them, and prints them, and then makes the gun. And then he's like, oh, and I've still got those glasses that gang gave me, so I'll use those to protect me from the brightness of my cold gun. Even though Jeff could have just had it be like, he created the gold gun, he knew what snow blinders were, like, he knew what these, like, glasses were, and then he just made a pair for himself. But, like, it felt a bit unnecessary that he had to be like, oh, well, there was a different gang that had them, and then they gave him one, and then he used it for the cold gun. It's like, what? And then he fought Barry Allen as Captain Cold, and then it's revealed that, like, his sister became Golden Glider, and they became partners, and they fought Barry Allen together after her boyfriend, the Top, was killed by Barry Allen, inadvertently. He didn't mean to. And that's when they, like, reunited, and there's a scene of them, like, at a bar. He's like, Lisa, not that I don't like you joining up with the Rogues, but why'd you give it up? You could have skated your way to the Olympics. He's like, why did I give it up? I wanted to be like my brother, with my brother. He's like, I'm sorry I left. He's like, I'm sorry, you did too. But we're out now, and that's all that matters. And she, like, puts her hand on his hand, and they hug each other. It's a really wholesome moment. If there's one thing I have always liked that always had potential, and now someone is finally making that potential out of it, is the relationship between Leonard Snart and Lisa Snart, where they are brother and sister. Like, normally whenever they're written, it's like the writers just, they don't utilize that. Like, they're brother and sister. Like, it's very easy to read those old comics and forget that. So I like that Jeff reinstates that and is like, they are brother and sister, they love each other, like, let's have moments of that, of them being a family. So they continued fighting Barry. Barry eventually died, and then they started, like, then they talk about, like, the bounty hunter business that they created, and then Cold talks about how his sister was murdered by Blaine, and that's where he is now. He's confronted Jack Montolione and Chilblain, and Jack is like, I made a deal with Blacksmith. You're working with Blacksmith. So she promised that the Rogues wouldn't get in my way and would allow me to do my business. So why are you here getting in my way? And Leonard is like, look, I might be doing a deal with Blacksmith as well, but I'm also doing my own deal. This is personal. Like, this isn't rogue business. This is personal business. And Jack is like, look, you're surrounded. You got all these guns. You can't take us all on. And Cold is like, think I'm bluffing? Tell them to shoot. And Jack just looks at him and is like, what do you want? And Cold is like, him. Just him. And he points at Chilblain. And Jack is like, you're always saying you're the best, Chilblain. Prove it. Chilblain's just like, what? He's like, let's go, boys. Leave the snowmen to their game. And Cold is like, you made the right move, Candyman. He's like, never step inside my home again, Cold. Never. And he slams the door, and Cold and Chilblain are left in the room together. And immediately, Chilblain just starts blasting at Cold. He's like, you're an absolute zero. Starts blasting at him. And Cold is like, clever banter. I outgrew that shit years ago. And he blasts his ice back, and they both clash. Like, their ice beams. And then he just runs up to Chilblain and punches him in the face. He's like, you use that gun like a child. Bad aim. And then Chilblain kicks him in the gun. He's like, shut up, old man. Your sister was a tramp. And he pulls his guns out at him. And that pisses Lenny off. He's just like, "Rrr," and he just kicks Chillblaine, sending him flying into another room. He's like, I'll put you on ice. And then his guns just get blasted out, but like, because Lenny shoots like a bunch of ice shards at Chillblaine, which destroys his chill guns and gets shards all in his hands. He's just like, ah! And then he gets frozen by Lenny. It's like, again with the puns. Look, kid, you're outclassed. And Chillblaine is just like, what did you do? I can't. And Lenny explains, he's like, I bathed you in a wide beam, froze your skin, so your insides are still nice and warm. If I'd have frozen you solid, I could have shattered you and you wouldn't have felt a thing. But I want you to feel everything that I'm about to do to you for what you did to my sister. And then he picks up Chillblaine, and Chillblaine's like, wait. And he's like, goodbye, kid. And he chucks Chillblaine off the top of the building and shoots a bunch of ice below, creating a bunch of spikes. And Chillblaine falls onto the spikes, and it's just like, shoo! And we see Cold from above just looking down at him, and we just see a shot of Chillblaine just like one final breath coming out of his mouth, like, and then he's like with a horrific look on his face because his skin is frozen, but it's assumed he is feeling all of this. And Chillblaine is dead. And then we look back up at the top of the building, and Cold has disappeared. Cold has actually gone to go and visit Angie, the woman that he had been previously seen with in past issues. It's a woman that he pays for to escort him. And he's like, not tonight, Angie. Have the money. I'm busy tonight, alright? I can't do it tonight. And she's like, it's your money, your problem. And Lenny heads home, and he looks at a picture of him and Lisa. He's like, I'm trying to hold it in. The creep that killed my sister is dead. I should be drunk, passed out on the floor, celebrating, or in the sack with Angie, or out on a job. But I can't shake this feeling. God, as much as I loathe it, as much as I hate it. My heart's not always cold. And you have like a shot of Leonard just like crying into his hands. He's just like it's he's just like depressed over his sister. And that's issue 182. Probably, I can comfortably say that this is the best issue that Jeff Johns has done of The Flash, and I wouldn't be surprised if many consider it to be the best Flash issue and Flash story that Jeff Johns has ever written, because it was incredible from start to finish. I might not be a fan of every single decision that Jeff Johns has made in this series, but I will say that like when it comes to writing the Rogues, no one has written them better than Jeff, at least at the moment. So, issue 183 begins with, I guess you could call it the office of Keith Kenyon. Somebody has broken into it and is trying to break into his safe, and succeeds in doing so, and steals all of Kenyon's documents. But then someone comes up behind him and is like, "Don't move, pal, you're busted." He's like, "What? I'm busted? You're kidding." And it turns out the assailant is the Trickster, but not Jesse James, a new Trickster. He's just like, and he's much younger. He's like a teenager. He's like, "Right, bro." And he just like opens up this box, and a big anvil that says Wham on it just flies out and knocks this guy flying. And then a bunch of cops enter the building as the Trickster leaves Kenyon's office. They're like, "Stop, we'll shoot." He's like, "Oh, come on. I'm way outnumbered. How about we call a truce, fellas? Break bread? Here." And he pulls a piece of gum out of his mouth. He throws the gum, and it encases two of the cops in like this massive bubble. And then he jumps out of a nearby window by using a spring to launch himself out. And then starts running on the air, which is another thing that the Trickster was normally able to do. He has like these boots that allow him to shoot sparks that allow him to kind of like hover in the air, so it looks like he's walking. Like he's skywalking. He's like, "Make sure you tell him that you were baffled, bamboozled, swindled, cheated, and of course tricked by the Trickster." And so Murillo and Chaya arrive at Kenyon's office and start investigating, and they tell Kenyon that they're going to hand the forensics over and let the Flash deal with this, and they can't really do anything else than that. And Kenyon is just like, come on, like, you stole all these documents for the Union, like, it's for the Union, like, I care about the civilians. It's not the Union, like, we will later discover that these were not Union papers. There was a different reason that the Trickster was stealing them, because why would the Trickster steal documents for the Union? Like, why would he do that? Chaya realizes that there's something off about Murillo, because Murillo calls him Fred, and he's also acting a little bit different. Like, he doesn't care as much about investigations, when Murillo is normally the one that cares a lot about this stuff and is often, at odds with Fred. Yeah, he calls him Fred, which is not normal. Linda and Iris and Wally are all at home. Iris has learned how to change diapers because she's now looking after Josh. And Wally tells them that, like, something's happening to the people around them. Like, it can't be coincidental that so many people that Wally knows are being affected in some negative way and are, like, disappearing. This is when it's revealed that Max Mercury has gone missing, which happened in JSA, which is really annoying that something as big as that, like a Flash character going missing, happened in a different title. And it's just more evidence that Jeff Johns doesn't like Max Mercury and doesn't want to use him, because not only did he not use him at all in this run, but also he had him disappear in a different series just to get him out of there. Like, I don't like it. I don't like what Johns has done with the Flash family, where, like, especially Max Mercury. I like Max Mercury. I want to see him more. I don't want him to be missing. Cyborg gets attacked in an alleyway by Magenta while Wally is running through the city to deal with the Trickster because he's hurt. Like, he's been called about it. Like, he gets a call about the Trickster causing trouble. Piper's currently in prison. Chunk has been shot and is now in a coma. So, like, things are bad. So Wally goes and he visits Hunter Zolomon, and Hunter tells him about the Trickster, that he, learnt about this kid. It's not Jesse James, it's actually a kid called Axel Walker, sorry. He's just a little punk who's trying to be like a criminal, and they need to stop him from going down that pathway before he goes too far and gets in with the wrong people. And that's when Axel Walker just shows up in the office with them. It's like, Wally's just like, the Trickster, and he's like, bang, Flash got it, first try, too. Isn't this great, me and you, the Scarlet Speedster? So, you want to fight in here or outside? And Wally's just like, shut up, and just like, shoots a tornado arm at him. And he's like, geez, you stupid jerk, I wasn't ready. He's like, this isn't a game, Trickster. He's like, wrong, Flash. And he throws like a little disc with a T on it at Hunter Zolomon's computer. And that uploads a virus to the computer. Then he throws a bunch of itching powder at Zolomon, which causes Zolomon to start itching and stuff. Wally zooms past Axel, sending him flying. He's like, ow! And he's like, believe it or not, I'm going easy on you, kid. I got more important things to deal with. And he grabs Axel's hand and pulls his hand off because it's a fake hand. He's like, son of a... And Axel's just like, And like the hand just suddenly morphs its way around Wally's body, encasing him in hard candy that is constantly shifting, so Wally can't vibrate out of it. Axel then pulls the disc off of Hunter's computer, which destroys everything on it. And then he's like, bye-bye, and he throws a yo-yo out the building and escapes. Like, he throws a yo-yo, it explodes, allowing him to escape from the building. And then he skywalks away. The police come in and they find Zolomon just like scratching himself. He's got like rashes all over his body from the itching powder. He grabs his cane and he's like, hang on, Flash. And he smashes the hard candy, which breaks his cane and allows, like, it creates a crack which allows Wally to break his way out of the hard candy. He's like, thanks, Hunter. The polymer shell kept shifting its structure, hard for me to vibrate through or find a weak spot to exploit. That wasn't something from the Trickster's original arsenal. Where'd that kid get all these new toys? And Hunter's like, the punk erased my hard drive. My rogues files are gone. Damn itching powder. Man, I need a shower. And Wally is just left wondering where Axel Walker has run off to. It turns out that he's run off to the Network, which is this underground lair where all the rogues have been operating from, led by Amunet Black, the Blacksmith. There are some rogues here that aren't Wally's rogues. Like, for some reason, Tobias Whale is in this shot, and Black Hand. Like, Black Hand has fought the Flash before, but only when Green Lantern was there. Like, Black Hand is a Green Lantern villain, not a Flash one, so I don't know why he's here. This is before Jeff Johns would retcon Black Hand to be a completely different character, so this is still, like, the lame version of him. We got Cobra, we got Rainbow Raider, and, as usual, Rainbow Raider is causing problems with other members of the network. He's trying to sell them fake paintings. The guy that he's trying to sell it to is like, I know it's fake. It's blue. Like, the painting is not supposed to be blue. And Raider's like, come on, man. Like, I need to make money. Like, stop being such an asshole. Axel is trying to join the Rogues. And he's like, am I allowed to be here? And Amunet Black is like, yeah, like, if you weren't, we would have killed you by now. Like, but you're here, you're one of us. And then she gets notified that Rainbow Raider is causing problems, and so she walks over to him, and he's like, I thought we kicked you out, Raider. He's like, give me a break, Blacksmith. Times have been tough. He's like, they're going to get a whole lot tougher. And that's when she reveals her ability, which is to fuse inanimate objects like metal, like specifically metal, with animate objects. So she takes the portrait that Rainbow Raider is holding and fuses it with his body, killing him. So he's just like got this big portrait just sticking out of his chest. And he's dead. Rainbow Raider is dead. He came back and he's already been killed off. I guess Johns just wanted to show how brutal Amunet Black is by killing off a rogue that people don't really care about. Chaya immediately figures out that Murillo is not Murillo. And the thing that really tips him off this time is Chaya has Murillo's wife on the phone, and he's like, hey, you want to talk to your wife? And Murillo's like, no. And Chaya's like, alright, he'll talk to you later. And he hangs it up, and he's like, who are you? You know, first you're calling me Fred, then you're not talking to your wife. And I also noticed the scar on your chin is on the wrong side. So who are you? You're not my partner. And that's when Murillo reveals his true identity, which is he is the Mirrorverse version of Murillo, aka Plunder. He's like, you can call me Plunder. It's like, now I'm afraid we've lost our use for you. And Mirror Master appears behind Chaya as Chaya tries to shoot his gun. He grabs Chaya and he throws him into a nearby window, which he becomes encased in. Like, he ends up in the mirror world. He's like, still worried about your friend? He's in a shallow grave, Fred. Dead like your last two. Buried under a beautiful oak tree in Cove Park. It's quite lovely. And we've saved a plot right next to him. Just for you. And there's a shot of Chaya just, like, in the window, like, in the Mirrorverse, like, like, just floating into the abyss. And then we find Wally, Linda, Iris, Joanne, and Jay Garrick all together. Jay, as far as we know, is actually in the Mirrorverse. So I'm guessing that this is a mirror copy version of Jay that has tricked them into thinking that he is the real one. Bart is here, but he's in the kitchen, so we don't get to see him because Jeff hates Bart Allen for some reason, or just doesn't want to use him. And so he refuses to even put him in group shots because he's like, they had to mention that Bart is in the kitchen. Yeah, he's like, Helen's with him in the kitchen. And that's when we get a big bombshell, because remember in the previous issue when Fallout walked past Joanne's house and she, like, fell over because of the radiation poisoning? Well, it turns out it gave her leukemia. So Joanne drops a big bombshell and is like, I have acute leukemia. And they're like, what does that mean? It means I'm dying. And so, yeah, she drops that bombshell on them. Joanne is dying, and her and Jay are deciding to leave the city for a while to have some time alone because of this. And to tell you the truth, it honestly sucks. Like, why is this happening? Like, why does this have to happen? Why does Joanne have to die? Why does Jeff Johns just like killing off women? Like, I feel like that's a reoccurring thing, especially like wives. Like, he kills off. Eventually, he's gonna kill off Barry's mom. You know, he's gonna kill off Joanne so that Jay Garrick is single and alone. It just feels like he has it out for, like, it's just a reoccurring thing that he does, that I'm not a fan of. I wouldn't be surprised if he killed off Linda at some point, and eventually she would be brought back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did kill her off. But yeah, that's that issue 183. Overall, like, it's good stuff. Like, it's good writing in that. I'm just bummed about the reveal for Joanne. It just sucks. It's sad. So, before we move on to the next issue of The Flash, we have to cover a one-shot special called DC First, The Flash and Superman #1, also written by Jeff Johns, with art by Rick Burchett and Prentice Rollins. The art in this is fine. I'm not a huge fan of it. But it's okay. Like, it's not terrible. It's just, like, it's not as good as the Scott Collins art that we've been getting in the main book. It's just kind of like, there are some panels where people look like off, and it happens quite often. Yeah, this one shot is very important to what is going on in the Johns run. There's a couple of things in this, even though it is a Flash and Superman crossover, there's some stuff. So right at the start of the story, we begin at Iron Heights Penitentiary, where Hunter Zolomon is interrogating Piper, Hartley Rathaway, and is trying to get information out of him because Wally believes that Piper has been framed for killing his parents, and that he's just admitted to it to be put in prison for some reason. Piper's definitely planning something, and so when he's trying to interrogate Piper, Piper's like, one thing I do remember, playing music. Do you like music, Officer Zolomon? He's like, not especially. And he's like, then I don't think we're going to get along. And Piper just launches himself at Hunter, knocking him over. And then while Hunter is on the ground, he's like, thank you, officer. And Hunter's just like, what are you talking about? And then Piper just gets whacked on the back of the head, and a couple of Wolf's men come in and are like, we're going to take him back to his cell, and Wolf's going to give him a beating for this. And Piper kind of smiles at Hunter, and it's revealed that behind his back he is holding the top of Hunter's cane, which was broken when Hunter was pushed over onto the ground. Like, told you shouldn't have met with Piper unaccompanied. He's nuts. And Hunter's just like, I'm not so sure. And Hunter's not just here to see Piper. Right after that little fiasco, he needs to go and visit another inmate who is currently suffering from amnesia. And that inmate is Abracadabra. He doesn't remember who he is because in a previous Justice League issue that we didn't cover on this, he got this alien in his brain that was controlling his mind, and when they pulled it out, it took away like all of his memories, and he became an amnesiac. So they go to visit him, and they're just asking him questions about, like, you know, if he remembers anything about himself and who he is. And one of the guards stupidly mentions Houdini, and if you know Abracadabra, he hates other magicians because he wants to be the best. And so Houdini is what sparks his memory, and he remembers who he is. He looks really messed up right now because during the Wade run, like, he got tortured and stuff and, like, set on fire, and so he ended up with, like, scarred skin. Like, he looked awesome and really messed up. But he remembers who he is, and he uses magic to make himself not look horrendous anymore, and now he just looks like he did during, like, the Silver Age. So he's back to looking like classic Abracadabra, which is fine, but I do prefer him looking like really creepy and weird. Kind of goes with his character being really weird. So he goes Abracadabra, and he blows the door open, and then he turns one of the cops, like he puts him in like one of those boxes and saws him in half. Except for real, he actually saws this guy in half. He's like, Abracadabra, everyone, take a look at my amazing show as I cut this man in half. And there's just the shadows of him being split in half. It's kind of horrific. It's just like, and the top is watching, and he's like, Kadabra, brilliant. And he's like clapping. It's assumed that Kadabra is, like, whenever somebody's clapping for him, Kadabra is always controlling them to do so. Though this might be the only case where that was actually just the top being like, yeah, that was awesome. He turns another cop into a jack-in-the-box. Then one of the other cops starts shooting at him, and Kadabra catches the bullet in his mouth and then turns the rest of the cops all into cards. And on the cards it has them like being stabbed and stuff. So it's assumed that all these cops are dead. Except the guy that got turned into a jack-in-the-box. It's assumed that he's going to have to live like that until the magic's undone. And then Kadabra disappears, leaving Hunter Zolomon by himself and probably scarred from seeing all of these cops get like cut in half and stuff. Kadabra's gonna go off and do what he does best, which is try and put people in danger with magic tricks to get renown, and so that his name will always be remembered. That's always his plan. Meanwhile, Wally and Jay are running through Metropolis, heading to a bookstore to get a book for Joanne because she's been diagnosed with cancer, and it's a real bummer. Jay and Joanne are like really upset about it, and it's kind of frustrating that Joanne is currently being fridged like that. I don't think she ends up dying from it. At least I hope she doesn't, because that would suck. Because then that would be another woman in a Flash title that was killed by Jeff Johns. You know, you got Julie, you got Barry's mom, and then you would have Joanne as well. So they head to the bookstore, they grab the book that they're looking for Joanne, and then suddenly all the books start turning into bats and flying around, or they get wings, start flying around, and then these giant cards appear, and Jay and Wally start to put two and two together. It's obvious that it's Abracadabra, and it's made even more obvious when Abracadabra appears in front of everyone with his own stage. He pulls a couple of rabbits out of a hat, because they're just like, what are you doing here, Abracadabra? Like, what is your plan? And he's like, the same as always. I just want people to clap for me and applaud me and remember me. So he pulls a couple of bunnies out of a hat, and he transforms them into giant bunnies, which then go to attack Jay and Wally. And that's when Superman just out of nowhere flies in, because they're in Metropolis. So Superman just shows up. He's just like, hey guys, I'm here. Like, it's literally like that. Like, one page he's not there, next page he's just suddenly there. He's like, hey guys, I'm here to help you fight Abracadabra, even though I'm susceptible to magic, so I'm not super helpful during this, especially when I can't even punch Abracadabra because he can just teleport away. Like, this is definitely one of those villains that Superman isn't super helpful against, because, I wouldn't say magic is a weakness of his, but, like, magic can hurt him. It's not like Kryptonite, where it leaves him completely, like, weak and unable to do anything, but, like, you can kill Superman with, like, a magic sword if you stab him through the heart with it. You know, or, like, really badly hurt him. Jay just punches Kadabra in the face, and Kadabra, like, shoots a bunch of magic at Wally, which starts aging him, and he says, like, I've cursed Wally and everyone around us. They're all going to be aged up until they dissolve into dust, and the only way to stop it is if one of you catches Wally first. And he's talking to Jay and Superman. He's like, you're gonna race, you're gonna chase after Wally, and whoever grabs him will save everyone else, but they'll die in the process. So that's the catch. They catch Wally, but they die while saving everyone. Kadabra sets off the gun, Wally begins running away, and Jay and Superman chase him in hot pursuit. Superman realizes that he's got his strength back, and he's like, let's go back and stop Abracadabra, and Jay's like, no, you go, I'll catch Wally. Jay's like, I'm gonna do it. I'll sacrifice myself because, I'm like 80 years old, and I look 50 because of the Speed Force, but, I'm actually like 80. I've lived long enough. I don't need to live any longer. So, you go and deal with Abracadabra and punch him in the face. I'll stop Wally. And Superman's like, no, because he's Superman. He's like, I'm not going to let you sacrifice yourself. If anyone's going to sacrifice themselves, it's going to be me. And also, I think I might be able to survive it. And Jay's like, well, I think I might be able to survive it too. So I'm doing it. And Superman actually almost touches Wally first. And Jay's just like, sorry, Superman. Sorry I had to do this. And it's revealed that Wally has taught Jay the ability to steal and give speed to other people. So he steals Superman's speed and gives it to himself, so that he can run fast enough to catch Wally. But Kadabra changes things a little bit by using his magic to expand Jay's speed field, so it speeds up Wally as well, and all three of them start running super fast, like even faster, to the point where they start traveling through time. There's a shot of, there's a brief cameo of Reverse Flash in this. They end up in the 64th century, which is where Abracadabra came from. When they arrive there, Wally collapses, Jay touches him, and absorbs the magic curse, and it starts aging Jay while Wally is reverted back to his regular age. And Wally's just like, we gotta do something, we gotta figure out how to stop this, because Jay's gonna die. He's already looks like he's in his 80s now. And that's when Superman uses his X-ray vision to look at Jay and reveals that he's not actually cursed. It's not a real curse. It's nanobots inside him absorbing his energy and causing him to age rapidly. So if they go and stop Abracadabra, hopefully it will undo the nanobots, and the nanobots will shut down without Kadabra controlling them, and it will save everyone. Kadabra is also in the 64th century. He goes to a place called Steelworks, which is where he steals, so it's really cool. In this, it's revealed, exactly where Kadabra's magic comes from. It's this place called Steelworks, and there are these, implants that kind of look like little motherboards that he slaps on his arm, kind of like a tattoo, and he absorbs it into his arm, and that's how he gets his powers. So he gets one, and it's a fire one, and he puts it into his arm, and he's able to use fire. So he's like, Abracadabra, fire! And the fire appears in his hand, and then it gets blown out. And it's because Superman, Jay, and Wally have all arrived. Abra starts using magic on them. He turns Superman into a puppet. He turns Jay into a tortoise, which is funny because it's slow. And then he pulls out an orb that he's going to use to trap them in the orb so that they can't stop him anymore. But Wally grabs Jay's hat, and because it's made out of metal, he reflects the beams of the orb, and they shoot back at Abracadabra, and he gets stuck in the orb himself. And because he's trapped in the orb, it undoes all of the magic that he had created, except for the orb for some reason. It saves everyone who had magic on them except for Kadabra himself. So the nanobots have stopped working. Jay is back to his normal age. So is everybody else. And Wally, Jay, and Superman all head back to the present, where they deliver. Superman goes off on his own, off panel. They just bid farewell to him. And Jay and Wally head to Iron Heights prison, where they place the orb containing Kadabra in his own cell. And as they're walking away, Wally turns to Jay and he's like, I owe you some thanks, Jay. You were willing to risk your life for mine. And Jay's like, so is Superman, Wally. Look, son, that's the beauty of who we work with in the Justice Society and the Justice League. Any one of us would risk our lives for another. That's what real friends do. Life isn't perfect, and it can get downright nasty. But we should never just give up, no matter how dark things look. And then we find a shot of Hartley Rathaway in his cell, listening to Jay's speech. Turns out he's carved that piece of Hunter's cane into a little whistle that he blows into, and then a rat shows up, and Hartley smiles and is like, he's right, you know. it's good to have friends, and it's revealed that Hartley is now surrounded by hundreds of rats. To be continued into the next issues of The Flash. Alright, issue 184, Crossfire, Part 1, written by Jeff Johns, with art by Scott Collins, as per usual, and Doug Hazelwood. Yeah, this is it. This is where everything that's been built up with the rogues and the Thinker in the background doing his thing, it's all colliding within this event, this multi-part story. It begins with Wally looking over Keystone City, obviously questioning the fact that all of his friends and allies have mysteriously disappeared. And so he decides that he's going to dress up and head out into Keystone City just to think on this whole situation, figure out what's happening, like what's going on. And Linda's like, all right, like, I hope you come back, and when you do, you know, I'll have Korean barbecue for you. I'll make my mum's Korean barbecue. And Wally's like, sounds great, see ya. And he heads off into the city and goes for a run. Linda is on her laptop doing her work, and that's when the Thinker appears on her laptop screen and is basically just like, you organics only operate your brain at 10%, but with my help, you operate it at 100%. And in order to do that, I'm going to take over all of your minds and the entire city, and a bunch of wires just come out of the laptop and connect into Linda's head. And she's just like, Wally, I need more room to think, for I am the Thinker. As Wally heads through the city, he decides to go and visit Hunter Zolomon, because that's who he's working with in order to, try and figure this whole thing out. As far as we know, Hunter is somewhere, because when Wally goes there, he can't find him. Even though in the Flash and Superman thing, like, Hunter was off doing stuff at Iron Heights. Maybe that's where he is. I don't know. He doesn't seem to be one of the people that has been trapped in the mirror world, like Cyborg, or like everyone else within the police precinct. Like, it's revealed that they're all in the mirror world. I guess off panel. I'm sure we'll find out what happened to Hunter. A nearby phone rings. Wally picks it up, and it's Mirror Master. He basically tells Wally, he's like, you do what we say, and we'll set all these people free. And Wally just cuts him off. He's like, damn it, McCulloch. And he's like, you just made a big mistake, Mirror Master. And he's like, really? What's that, lad? He's like, I know right where you are. And he just smashes through the door, and McCulloch's face is just kind of surprised on the glass as he realizes that Wally's coming for him. And it's because in the reflection that Mirror Master was appearing in, Wally saw the Flash statue, the statue of Barry Allen from outside the Flash Museum. So he knows that Mirror Master is right near the Flash Museum. So he heads there, he finds Mirror Master, and he runs straight through him, but it's not actually Mirror Master, it's a mirror copy. And Mirror Master's like, I warned you, Flasher. You're not playing nice, now neither will the rogues. So tell us, are you faster than lightning? And that's when a massive lightning storm appears over the entire city. Lightning strikes a building. It's strong enough to cause the entire building to collapse. Just lightning. It's like big, massive lightning that strikes the bottom of the building. It starts collapsing, so Wally tries to get as many people away as he possibly can. And as he's saving a little girl, he gets hit by a big piece of metal, smacks him on the head. Luckily, he covered his head fully with his Speed Force suit, so it helped lessen the impact. The metal is pulled off of him by Magenta, as she has appeared alongside the rogues led by Amunet Black. And she appears and is like, it's high time you started taking the rogues seriously, Flash. Murmur is there for some reason, even though I never got why, like Murmur was cool in that one issue, but I don't get why he became a reoccurring rogue of Wally. Like, what is he gonna do? He's just a guy. Like, there's no way someone like Murmur can beat the Flash. Like, he doesn't have any gimmicks that, like, he can use against the Flash to stop his speed. He's just a guy who cuts people's tongues out. Keith Kenyon, aka Goldface, is also facing the Rogues. It turns out that he is the ex-husband of Amunet Black. And that's why he has kind of a bit of a rivalry with the Rogues. But he finds out that his entire systems have been taken over by the Thinker, who appears on his screen and is like, I've taken over the minds of your men, Goldface, and I'm taking over your mind too. And he's, attaches a bunch of wires into Goldface's head. And then he reveals that he's taken care of Hunter Zolomon, like he's taken over his mind. Iris and Josh. Josh has like little wires in his head. Poor kid. He's trying to get Leonard Snart, but we see a shot of Snart like getting away. So like he's fine at the moment. Chaya has been taken away by Plunder, who was revealed to be the Mirrorverse version of Jared Murillo. Plunder wants or Plunderer, I think his name is, wants to bury Chaya alive next to Murillo's grave, because Murillo is quote-unquote dead at the moment, though I think he's going to come back to life because he can heal. Like, he's got healing abilities. That's, I think, what the big reveal is going to be. In the previous issues, like, Chaya was sent flying into the Mirror World, so I guess they pulled him out of the Mirror World just so they could bury him next to Murillo. Like, that's kind of messed up. Like, they could have just kept him trapped in a Mirror World, but they were like, no, we have to bury him alive next to his ex-partner. So, Wally just has to, like, he just gets bombarded by these rogues that are surrounding him. Gerda attacks him. There's this weird running joke where he keeps hitting on Magenta, even though he's probably like 20 years older than her, and calls her like a hot babe and stuff. And I'm like, bro, like, it's not even a funny joke. It's just weird. It also feels like it's kind of Jeff Johns being like, I'm going to have this character hit on Magenta because I think Magenta is hot. So I'm going to have this character like keep mentioning it and stuff. That's what it feels like. That might not be the case, but it feels like that. Weather Wizard starts shooting lightning at Wally, which Wally has to like barely dodge. But what really takes him out is the Trickster throws a yo-yo around Wally's legs, which then explodes, causing him to collapse to the ground. Then he sees a bunch of Mirror Master copies, and he runs straight through them, stupidly, and gets shards of glass all in his hands. He's like, my hands are shredded. I'm so stupid, I'm not thinking straight. It turns out the glass was had like murmurs. They call it his frenzy virus, which I guess is going to mess with Wally's mind. So I guess that's why Murmur's useful to the Rogues, is that he can help them with their gadgets, not necessarily fight the Flash himself. Murmur realizes that the city around them is disappearing. Like, it's turning into, like, data. And Amunet Black's just like, I see it, Murmur. Mirror Master, contact Plunder. And Wally sees it too. The entire city is, like, glowing a weird color, kind of turning into data. And that's when the Thinker appears in front of him. He's like, hello, Flash. You may not recognize my post-mortem form. I am the Thinker. I have command of Keystone City. And then Wally thinks to himself, and he's like, quick question. West. Which way? Which way do I run? And, like, the whole city is being attacked, and Wally has the Rogues on one side, the Thinker on the other. He doesn't really know how he's going to get out of the situation. Like, where does he go from here? I'm going to have to find out in the next part. So, issue 185. The Rogues have taken over both Central City and Keystone City, and the Thinker has appeared with his own plans to take over Keystone City and Central City. So it's kind of the Rogues and the Thinker fighting for control over the two cities, kind of facing each other. They both want the Flash for different reasons. The Rogues want to destroy the Flash. The Thinker has other plans for the Flash that we'll reveal a little bit later. Wally is stuck in between them. He doesn't know which way he's going to need to go, like he wants to go, but he's going to have to pick a direction soon because he's dying from the frenzy virus, which I remembered. When I read the last issue, I was like, oh, the frenzy virus? Like, what was that? And then I remembered the frenzy virus is the virus that was in Iron Heights prison that was killing people. Wally has that in his system. So he heads straight to Star Labs because he knows that there's a cure there, and the Thinker arrives and points him to where the cure is. So Wally gets the cure and cures himself of the virus, and then he turns to the Thinker and he's like, why did you cure me? And he's like, because I need you. And he's like, then who are you? And he's like, I'm the Thinker. He's like, no, I mean, like, who are you? Like, what are you? Because you're not the Thinker that I knew, like, because he's dead. And so this Thinker reveals that he is an AI version of the Thinker that was created from the Thinker's helmet. Because when the Thinker died, his consciousness went into the helmet, and then the JSA took the helmet and connected to it, like left it in their base, and connected it up to their computers, not knowing that his conscious was still in there. So he went into the computers and took over them, and that allowed him to take over Keystone City and become this AI version of the Thinker. And his goal is to take over the city, take over everyone's mind, and he wants to take over the Flash. That is like, his ultimate goal is to have control over everything, and he wants to take over the Flash's body, and it's not 100% stated in this, but we can kind of guess that the reason he wants to take over the Flash's body is because with the Flash's speed, he'll be able to run around the world and take over the minds of everyone throughout the world. Like, it will make his job a lot more faster if he's in the Flash's body when he does it. So the Rogues want to find the Flash, and Flash is going after the Thinker. So the Rogues need to find the Thinker. But at the same time, they're also trying to find Goldface because Amunet Black wants to kill Goldface. So first goal is find the Flash and destroy him, and possibly destroy the Thinker if he gets in their way. And then the second goal after that is to find Goldface and kill Goldface. Because Amunet Black just hates him because he's her ex-husband. Meanwhile, Chaya is dealing with Plunder. Like, he's at Plunder's mercy. Plunder is going to kill him. I said previously he was going to bury him alive, because I thought he was. But it turns out, no, he's actually going to shoot Chaya and bury him. He's just like, one more thing before you go. You think all your partners getting killed have to do with karma or bad luck? Nope, you're selfish. You only watch out for you. You let them die. And then Chaya's like, no! And he kicks him in the chest, and Plunder's like, you idiot. You think, like, one last burst of energy is going to, like, take me out? And he takes off, like, his visor off of his helmet, and he throws it at Chaya like a projectile, like a boomerang, and it stabs Chaya. And he's like, back in the mirror world I came from, you were a psychotic fuck. Tried to kill me 12 times. My turn. And then, as he's about to fire the gun, suddenly lightning sparks come out of the grave next to him, and Murillo bursts from the grave as a zombie. No, just kidding. He's alive. He's because obviously he is. He heals from Cicada, so he healed from the gunshot to his head. So he emerges from the grave, grabs Plunder's gun, like, grabs his arm, pulls it behind his back, and then just throws Plunderer into a nearby tree, knocking him out. He's just like, leave him alone, and never touch my wife again, ever! So it seems like Murillo might have, like, heightened strength and abilities as well because of Cicada, because of how easily he was able to just take down Plunder. And this is kind of a moment where Chaya and Murillo make up a little bit more. So Chaya tells Murillo to pretend to be Plunder and to call the Rogues because he sounds and looks exactly like Plunder. So he calls up the Rogues to try and learn about their plan. Meanwhile, Wally, like, the Thinker reveals to Wally that he's been taking over everyone's minds, including Linda's. So Wally's like, Linda? No! And he heads to Linda. He's just like, no! It's like a warning. If you try to disconnect her, her mind will be deleted. Her memory. A memory. And so Wally's just like, what do you want? He's like, I want you. I want you, Wally. I want to take over your body. I want you to go to Keystone Motors. And if you don't go, I will disconnect everyone in the entire city and kill them. Because if I disconnect them, they will all die. So do as I say. And the whole time, Wally is, like, trying to attack Thinker, and he's like, you can't even touch me. Like, you can't even hurt me. I'm an AI. Meanwhile, Murillo calls the rogues. He calls Mirror Master and acts like he's plunderer. He's like, oh, hey, Mirror Master, sorry, just burying these idiots. Man, I hate cops. Hate all good guys. And Chaya's just like, not that mean. Because he's like, you gotta be mean. But then he's like, not that mean. Murillo's like, the older one was heavy as hell. Big tub of lard. Which I thought was funny. It was kind of Murillo mocking Chaya. So, Mirror Master has been talking about this big... they gotta activate the reflection. And we finally find out what the reflection is. He tells Murmur to activate the reflection. And what the reflection is in the previous issue when they were going around... there was an issue ages ago where they were going around attacking radio towers. Turns out what they were doing was they were putting mirrors on the ends of the radio towers, and by activating them all now, it has created a giant dome around both Central City and Keystone City that stops any transmissions from coming in. So any calls that come in get sent out with a fake voicemail so that nobody knows that they're there. And anyone who drives into the dome will immediately be thrown back out with memories of them going to Keystone and Central City. So it'll be like they think that they've already gone there, but it turns out they went in and then left immediately without knowing. So that's what the reflection is. And so he's like, we'll meet you later, plunderer. Mirror Master out. And so Chaya and Murillo decide that they're going to have to go to Central City, because they need to find Cyborg, because Murillo is like, Cyborg is great with computers, and we're fighting against this Thinker guy. So maybe Cyborg will be able to hack into the Thinker or fight him on a technological level. But obviously Cyborg is trapped in the mirror world at the police station, so we got to go over to Central City to the police station and free him from the mirror world. And in order to do that, we're going to have to go through the sewers. And so Chaya and Murillo head through the sewers. Meanwhile, Captain Cold is breaking his way into Hunter Zolomon's place, where he takes the rogues' files, specifically named the Network. I'm guessing it has... the Network is where the rogues' lair was, so I think it's kind of Captain Cold figuring out their plans, or everything that Hunter Zolomon has investigated. And then he crosses paths with Murillo and Chaya. They make their way into Central City after going through the sewers, and they cross paths with Cold, and because they look up at the city and they're like, wow, the city looks like hell. We're about to go into hell. And then Captain Cold shows up and he's like, walking into hell? And they're like, Captain Cold, don't move! And he's like, hey, relax, girls. I've been to hell and back. Hell ain't so bad. Which is funny because he actually has been to hell. The rogues are making their way through to Keystone City Motors because they know that that's where the Thinker is and where the Flash is going to be. So they head there. Wally heads to Keystone Motors, where he finds a bunch of the Thinker's cables. They all start attacking Wally, and he tries holding them off, but they start entering into his body and taking over his mind. He's like, the world's fastest data processor belongs to me. And the rogues break into Keystone Motors. They're like, where is he? Flash? And then Wally is like, quiet, rogues. And you see him sitting on a computer box with wires coming out of his head. He's like, I'm thinking. And so the Thinker has taken over Wally's mind and become the Flash. And so we'll find out what happens in the next issue. So, issue 186, the Thinker has taken over Wally's body. He's not in Wally's mind. He's actually brought his entire self into Wally's body, including his own mind. So Wally is in the Thinker's mind inside his own body. He even says that. He's like, get out of my mind! And the Thinker's like, I'm not in your mind, you're in mine. And I'm going to use your brain as my processor, sir. As my processor. Because you've got super speed, and so you can process things at super speed, so I need you to get processing. Meanwhile, I'll deal with the rogues, because they're currently, barging in on our little rendezvous. So, the Thinker sends a bunch of his, like, mind-controlled guards at the rogues, and the rogues begin fighting them, and also the Thinker, as the, like, using Wally's body, starts fighting the rogues as well. Weather Wizard ends up deciding to just bombard the place with lightning. Because Thinker is like, you think your network is unknown to an entity with access to every memory, every computer chip within Keystone City? I know about your organization, Blacksmith, but this assemblage of rogues is not a threat to me. And then Weather Wizard is like, not a threat? Used to hear that a lot, Thinker. Used to. And then it's just like, boom, and he just sends a massive lightning strike on the place. Magenta tries to keep everyone safe using her magnetic powers, while the Thinker in Wally's body just gets thrown around by, like, gusts of wind and lightning, which just destroy the entire room that they're in. Meanwhile, it turns out that Murillo and Chaya and Captain Cold have been heading to the Flash Museum. I thought they were going to the police station because that's where Cyborg was originally shown to be, like, in the mirrors there, but turns out they transferred him over to the Flash Museum. When they get there, the statue of Barry Allen is on fire, and Captain Cold puts the fire out, and Murillo and Chaya are like, why'd you put that fire out but not the others? And Cold is just like, guess I'm a bit sentimental, and kicks the door in of the Flash Museum. When they head inside, Murillo is like, why are you a supervillain? And Cold is like, I don't like the name supervillain. He's like, well, you wear a costume, you have a gun that freezes things. He's like, my gun doesn't freeze things. He's like, yeah, I know, like, you slow things down at the subatomic level, you know what I mean? Like, you could be doing good things. Like, why are you doing bad things? Why do you do what you do? And Cold is like, you don't want to know the answer to that, and I don't even have to give it to you. He's like, I have my own reasons for what I'm doing, and I don't want to explain myself to you because I don't have to. Like, why do you wear that monkey suit while you're working as a policeman? Like, you know, I can ask you those kind of questions. And Murillo was like, fair point, alright, I'll just move on. They enter the Flash Museum and they find a giant mirror with Cyborg and all of the citizens within it. Murillo is going to smash it, but Cold is like, no, don't smash it. That's exactly what Mirror Master is banking on. If you smash it, you'll kill everyone in there. What we need to do is we need to create another reflection at the opposite of the room that will reflect that mirror. And so he, like, freezes the other wall, which reflects the other mirror. And so it's the opposite reflection. So Cyborg in the ice is able to talk normally, unlike his reflective self. And then they destroy the other reflection, and that allows Cyborg and the civilians to be free. That's as good as it can be explained. That's how they free them. I don't know how it works. It's a comic book. But yeah, they just create another reflection, then destroy the other mirror, and that frees them somehow. So they're going to need Cyborg's help in order to find the Thinker. They have the papers from Hunter Solomon, which have, like, everything they need to know about the network, and that's going to lead them to where the Flash should be, hopefully, or where the Thinker is. So the entire building that the Rogues and the Flash were in has collapsed, and they all start talking about how they're going to torture Wally and how they're going to kill him. But then Weather Wizard gets a bunch of wires in his head, and the Thinker takes over his body. He's like, I'm not done yet. You know, since that guy's really strong and he has that lightning, I'm going to take over his body and use him. And then I'll also take over the Flash's body and use him too. But then he realizes that the Flash is gone, and he's like, where did the Flash go? Meanwhile, Chaya, Murillo, and Cyborg are going through the sewers. Chaya starts reading the network documents, and that's when we get a massive lore dump about Keith Kenyon, Goldface, and Amunet Black. Because it turns out Keith Kenyon saved Wally. When Wally disappeared, he was taken away by Keith or something, or Wally, like, ran away, and then Keith found him and brought him to his like little underground shelter in the Union building. It doesn't matter. All we know is that Keith saved his life, and he reveals to Wally his entire history, because it turns out that Keith is trying to save the city. Like, he's actually trying to be a good guy. He used to be a supervillain, and, like, because when he grew up, his parents always expected him to help the working class. But he went against that and he became a supervillain. And while he was a supervillain, he fought Green Lantern multiple times, eventually ended up in Iron Heights. But then eventually he was able to get out, and that's when he started his union and tried to actually be a good person. Then, at a certain point in his supervillain career before this, he met this woman, Amunet Black, like while he was a supervillain. And he fell in love with her. And she introduced him to the Network, which is a black market, like an underground black market for rogues. And they fell in love, but then she started to believe that he was trying to take down, or like, not take down, but take over the Network. And that caused a friction between them, and they divorced, and they've been enemies since. And that's also the moment that Keith decided that he was going to do whatever he could to take down the Network. She also stole, because at this point Keith is made out of gold, because there was this elixir that he had that would give him abilities, like make him stronger and stuff. He ended up taking so much of it that he turned into gold. Amunet Black took some of the elixir, and she transformed it, and then took it, and that's what gave her the ability to meld flesh with metal. So that's her power. And so he's going to try and stop her and take down the Network. Wally points out that some of the rogues have gone straight, like Piper and Heatwave. And he's like, why haven't they taken down the Network? And Keith is like, because they're too afraid. Because they might get killed. There's also the off chance that they've also been hypnotized to forget about the Network. Like Heatwave was hypnotized. And then Wally thinks for a second, he's like, Piper hypnotized, and it dawns in him that like Piper was was probably framed by the rogues and was hypnotized by Mirror Master and into killing his own parents. Wally sees the cable and he's like, oh, I don't think we're alone, and it's one of the Thinker's cables. Massive explosion happens, which sends Keith and Wally flying. The Thinker has arrived with Weather Wizard still under his control. He zaps Keith with lightning because Keith can conduct gold. So it, hurts Keith a lot. And then the Thinker is like, time to plug you back in. And then a voice from off panel is like, don't think so, punk. And the Thinker just gets blasted by a bunch of sound from Cyborg's arm cannon, because Cyborg's here alongside Murillo and Chaya. And he's just like, hey, Kenyon, we know all about the Network. And he's like, ugh, good. We're finally all on the same page. And Chaya and Murillo are like, don't think you're going to get out of this easily, Kenyon. And he's like, you idiots. I'm on your side. I'm trying to take down the Network, not help them. Don't you understand that? Cyborg tries to attack Thinker. He's like, because the Thinker is like, you really do not have any concept of what you are facing, do you? And Cyborg's like, sure I do. A big ugly computer bug, one I'm going to pull out, throw on the ground, and smash. He like grabs a bunch of Thinker's cables, then the cables all go into Cyborg, and then a cable comes out of Cyborg's back and attaches itself to the Flash. So Kenyon thinks that the Thinker is trying to take over Flash's mind again, so he pulls the cable off and is like, no way, Thinker, you're not getting him again. And Thinker's like, Flash will not escape me. No one on Earth will. And Wally is then like, you want my brain? Fine. Like, that wasn't the Thinker's cable. That was Cyborg's cable. Cyborg went into my mind and he told me something. He gave me a great plan, a great idea. And so the Thinker attaches all of his cables to Wally's head and takes over his body. And then we find the Cyborg within the Thinker's mind. And Thinker is like torturing Cyborg. He's just like, now, man, machine, it's time to extract what organic parts you have left. And then all of a sudden Thinker starts like buzzing out. He's just like, am I? And then he hears a voice that's like, am I thinking too fast for you? And he's like, come on. And the Thinker just gets pulled into this vortex and there's lightning and stuff. And the Thinker's just like, ah. as he gets pulled into this massive vortex. And then he lands smack dab on a road. And he's like, location unknown, searching. And a voice from off panel is like, I've got things to show you, Thinker. And it's Wally, and he grabs the Thinker's head. He's like, welcome to my mind. And so the Thinker has been brought into Wally's mind. And so we'll find out what happens and what Wally's going to do in the next issue. So, The Flash, issue 187. Wally has brought the Thinker into his own mind. It's kind of cool. It's a big factory in the background that has things like temper, violence, suffering, pain, like all coming out of it, which is like all of his feelings being produced. And then you have signs of quotes from different people that have given Wally, like, meaning. Like, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which was Iris Allen, and never stop learning, which is a quote from Linda West. He's like, I visited the inside of your mind, welcome to the inside of mine. So Wally creates a bunch of copies of himself, different versions of him from throughout time. Like there's Wally with the white eyes, and Kid Flash Wally, and Kid Flash Wally when he looked exactly like the Flash from like back in the 60s. So they all start attacking the Thinker, and the Thinker just grabs them all and just destroys them all. Like, he steps on one of them and just grabs two by the neck and clashes them together, and he's like, the problem with you is that you are just a man. I am much more than that. The problem for humans like you is that you can do as much as you can, but eventually you're gonna die. I'm never gonna die. And Wally's like, see, that's your problem, Thinker. You're so afraid of dying. You know what's the difference between me and you? I'm not afraid of dying. When it's my time to go, I'll go. No regrets. Because unlike you, I live my life every day. And I'm not afraid of death. And the Thinker tries to take down Wally by, like, grabbing his nerves in his mind, because he's like, bringing me into your mind was a terrible mistake, Wally, because if I kill your nerves, like, they don't come back. And he grabs the nerves and, like, badly hurts Wally. But Wally manages to break free, and then he unleashes his speed power and vibrates his own mind, which begins to cause, like, the Thinker to be like, ah! He's like, you are of average intelligence, average education, nothing. I will not be stopped by someone. And Wally's like, you're right, Thinker. I'm not a genius. I'm just a regular guy. But sometimes that's enough. And then all the speed energy just explodes around the Thinker, and it's just like... And Wally, like, a bunch of, like, the Thinker's data just goes spewing out of Wally's mouth. Just goes like... And so it's like, by speeding up his mind, Wally destroyed the Thinker and reduced him to nothing but dust and, like, data. And so the Thinker is officially gone. Like, Cyborg uses his radar to test if the Thinker's still around, and he is dead. And because of that, everyone in Central City and Keystone City has been freed from the Thinker's influence. They're all free. Everyone's good now. Cyborg, for some reason, is half human, half cyborg again. So, previously, you know, he used to be half human, half cyborg. Then in the 90s Titans series, he gained a clone body that allowed him to look human. And that clone body also was still, like, partly made of, like, this weird metal stuff. So he was able to turn into cyborg, but then look human again. After being in the Thinker's mind, in this issue, he's just half cyborg again. They don't really explain it. I guess just being in the Thinker's mind, he was made into a cyborg again. I don't know. Because the way we know this is because Gerda comes crashing into the ceiling and is like, you forgot about us. Like, the rogues are still around. We're still gonna kill you. He, like, smacks Keith Kenyon to the side, but because Kenyon is made out of gold, he's able to face Gerda, and so he just runs into Gerda, and they start fighting each other. He's like, yeah, you're working for my ex-wife as his mook. And he's like, I'd much rather be called a rogue. So they start fighting. Wally, like, and Murillo and Chaya kind of like get their bearings, but then a yo-yo comes down and explodes. The trickster thinks that he's killed them. He's like, yeah, I did it. But then he realizes that he didn't. And Amunet Black is like, it's fine. Like, we have Cyborg, and like, we'll get the others. So Magenta grabs Cyborg with her magnetic powers, and she starts pulling apart one half of his face, which is the confirmation that we get that he's back to being just half human and half cyborg. He's no longer got the gold armor, which I really liked. He's now got silver armor. But Wally manages to grab him as his face is being pulled apart, pulls him away from Magenta, drops him off with the McGees. He's like, you gotta help him. Like, his face has been pulled apart. Like, you gotta fix him. He's like, back on track, West. Back to doing what you do best. So Wally heads back to face the rogues head on. Meanwhile, Chaya and Murillo head off to go and find Hunter Zolomon, because they believe that Hunter Zolomon will know where their base camp is, like where the rogues' base camp is, because he knows everything about the rogues. On their way there, Murmur attacks them, and he slits Murillo's throat, but Murillo has healing abilities, so he heals, and Chaya just knocks Murmur out. And, Murmur's taken care of. Wally faces the Trickster, Magenta, Mirror Master. Like, he's just fighting all of them, having to deal with all of their antics. Mirror Master creates a bunch of copies of the Flash and sends them at Wally. But Wally smashes through them. And as he does so, a fog rolls in, which he knows is from Weather Wizard, and he's like, I can't run at the moment because I can't see anything. So if I run, I might run through people, turn them into paste. And I also might run into a wall and turn myself into paste. Keith Kenyon gets thrown at Wally, which knocks him to the ground, by Amunet Black. Then Amunet Black comes in front of him and is like, we're going to take over the city, but before we do that, we're going to kill you. And then immediately after that, she's like, actually, no, we're not just going to kill you first. We are actually going to take over the city right now. Let them out, boys! And Weather Wizard, like, lifts up this, like, panel in the ground. Like, this big part of the ground just starts opening up, and all of the rogues that have ever existed, or at least a bunch of rogues created specifically for this issue. I mean, I see Computron. That's the only rogue I can recognize. Everyone else seems to be created specifically for this. Emerge from the ground. And they're like, Keystone belongs to me. So Amunet Black has already decided that she's won. She's taken over. You know, Flash and Goldface are at her mercy. She's ready to kill them. And then once she does, the rogues will take over the city. Murillo and Chaya enter Hunter Zolomon's office, where they find that he's being held hostage by Plunder. Plunder's back, because we all wanted to see Plunder again. He holds Murillo and Chaya at gunpoint. He's like, got a tracer in my rifle, in case someone swipes it. This time, gonna make sure you stay dead. Sound cool, bro? Then Gerda walks up to Wally, picks him up by the head, and they're all waiting for him to crush his head. Magenta is like, Wally, oh Wally, it could have been so much fun. Gerda, do me a favor and kill him quick. And so we end the issue on Gerda holding Wally's head, ready to kill him, gonna crush his head. And we'll find out if Wally can get out of this sticky situation in the next issue. The conclusion to the Crossfire event that's been going on. So yeah, we'll find the epic conclusion to this. So, issue 188. Flash and Goldface are at the mercy of the rogues. Gerda is going to crush Wally's head, and as he's doing so, one last time, he says to Magenta, he's like, once I crush his head, why don't we go find a little place in Keystone and Smoochy Smooch, and this, like, is the last straw for Magenta. He's like, I told you before. And suddenly, Frankie's good personality breaks through Magenta. She's like, I'd rip you in half. And she rips Gerda in half. It's a pretty awesome 2-page panel of Magenta just going, "Yeah!" and just Gerda's face being like, "What the fuck?" as he's ripped apart. She's like, "Ah!" It's pretty great. So Gerda is out of the picture. He's not dead, as far as we know. As far as we know, Gerda can't die. He's just a guy made out of metal. Literally all of him is made out of metal. His organs, his eyes, everything. So his two halves just fall on the ground and crap. Gerda's out. Let's kill Wally right now, and also you guys take care of Magenta. Get her out of the picture. If we don't, she might kill us all. So Weather Wizard starts fighting Magenta and zaps her with lightning. Meanwhile, Goldface starts hobbling away because he's been badly hurt by Amunet Black. So he's just hobbling away. She's like, "Run, Goldface! Feel fear!" And Wally sees him hobbling away, and he's like, "Goldface, you yellow son of a..." And then Amunet puts her foot on Flash's face and is like, "Too late, Flash. The stable doors are open. The animals are on the prowl, and the entire city of Keystone and Central City are now being attacked by rogues on the loose, just causing havoc and chaos." Hunter, Chaya, and Morello can hear what's going on outside. They're currently being held hostage by Plunderer and Murmur. And Plunderer wants Murmur to torture them. And as Murmur goes to cut out Chaya's tongue, Murillo is like, "Get down!" He punches Murmur. And Plunder shoots Murillo multiple times in the chest. But then Chaya listens to the gun and realizes, he's like, "I know that sound." He's out of bullets. And he punches Plunder in the face. And then Murmur tries to attack Hunter, but Hunter grabs his cane and fights back against Murmur. And he's like, "You're a psychopath. You've got problems in your head, Murmur. We should see if you can go to a couple of sessions and maybe you'll start to feel better. Maybe we can help you." And Chaya's like, "There's no way to help this guy besides giving him a lobotomy." And he throws Plunder at Murmur, sending Murmur and Plunder crashing through a nearby window. And so, and they fall on top of a taxi. And so, they're both defeated. And Hunter doesn't know that Murillo has healing abilities. So he's shocked when Murillo is still alive. He's like, "How the hell did..." And Murillo's just like, "He missed." And Hunter's just like, "Oh, crap." Why is everyone around me so weird and crazy? So Magenta has been knocked out. Wally starts vibrating under Amunet's foot. And which causes an explosion. And Amunet is just like, "Thanks for the snack, Flash." And she absorbs all the metal that blew up in her face. And reveals her true form, which is a weird, metal form that she has. She looks like an alien. Recommend looking up Amunet Black, her true form. You'll see what I mean. So yeah, she's decided that she is going to kill Wally. She's like, "You're all alone. Magenta's down. Your friends are somewhere else being killed by Murmur and Plunder. Now we're gonna kill you." And then a voice comes from behind. Wally's just like, "You bet?" And a voice comes from behind Amunet Black and is like, "This isn't just your fight, Flash." And Wally's just like, "Hell yeah." And the entire union of Keystone City and Central City, which is most of Keystone and most of Central, just all these citizens start charging in. They're just like, "We're on your side, Flash. The union's on your side." And they're led by Keith Kenyon. Turns out that Keith actually went off to get his union to come and help. He wasn't running away. He's like, "This is our city. We make it run, rogues. Not you. Go get 'em, boys and girls." And so, all the citizens of Keystone and Central start fighting against the rogues. And Wally also fights against the rogues. He gets stuck in some chewing gum by the Trickster. But he manages to spin his way out of the chewing gum, which gets stuck on the Trickster. The Trickster's just like, "Nasty, that was on the ground, man." And then he gets blasted by sound, and Wally's like, "Oh, Piper? How? And Hartley Rathaway appears and he's like, time for that later. I'm here to help, Flash. And then Wally's like... And then Jeff is like, oh, you were hoping that Piper was like going to show up and team up? And he's like, actually, it's not really Piper. Wally looks at him for 1 second and is like, thought you could trick me? Piper got rid of that ugly ponytail ages ago. Even though, Jeff, I kind of like the ponytail on Piper. I don't think it's ugly at all. I think it looks good. But either way, that's how Wally deduces that this isn't actually Piper. It's a copy created by Mirror Master. He blasts the copy, which knocks out Mirror Master. And then Weather Wizard shows up and is like, I'm still the most powerful rogue, well, like Flash. There's no way you can defeat me. And he starts like heating up Wally with intense heat waves. Luckily, Wally realizes that the storms that Weather Wizard has brought with him have put out a lot of the fires in Keystone City. The way he defeats Weather Wizard is he mocks Weather Wizard, and he's just like, you're a thief, that's all you are. Like, you might be powerful, but you're still just a thief. You stole that one from your brother. And he's like, don't ever mention my brother again. And he's like, yes, focus your hatred on me, like, and your concentration on me, and not your wand. And he, like, whips up, like, Wally, like, whips up enough speed to knock the wand out of, he sends, like, speed lightning at him, which knocks the wand out of his hand, knocking Weather Wizard to the ground. And he's like, all right, you're both out. I'm going to take you to prison right now. Like, there's no way to get out of here. You don't have any mirrors or anything. All of a sudden, off panel, Captain Cold shoots a bunch of ice on the ground underneath Trickster, Mirror Master, and Weather Wizard, and they get away using the ice because of their reflections. And so Wally's just like, damn it, where is he? Cold! And Captain Cold is already gone. He doesn't actually show up. He just was off screen somewhere doing that, like off panel. And Morello's like, you gotta stop Blacksmith. Fast. So Goldface and the Union members have all been led to the bridge connecting Central City and Keystone. This is part of Amunet Black's plan, was to draw them here and then destroy the entire bridge, killing everyone, which is exactly what she does. She rips the bridge apart, and Wally runs in just in time and is like, I gotta go at super speed, save everyone's lives. Here's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna head to a local bookstore. I'm gonna read every single book about building bridges and stuff. And then I'm going to build a new bridge. And so he grabs all these materials. He heads to the bridge as it's falling apart. And he's just like puts this bridge together. And he's like, and I'm finished. It's going to be stronger, better than ever before. Keystone City, Kansas, Central City, Missouri, forever united and under my protection. And a brand new bridge is revealed to be built between the two cities, which Wally says is not unbreakable, but much harder to break than the previous bridge. And Amunet is just like, impossible, what did you do? And Wally's just like, as I told someone else not long ago, I live to do the impossible. And Amunet's just like, all of your allies were taken out of the equation. You were supposed to fight alone, not me. People like you always end up alone. And Wally's just like, people like you always end up alone, Blacksmith. And he sends Amunet Black flying into one of those, the ships that have, like, the barges full of garbage? He sends her flying into one of those, and because she's surrounded by water, turns out Amunet Black is afraid of water, because she's made of metal. So if she fell into water, it would rust her. So that's her weakness. So she's kind of, like, surrounded by water, and it's just like, can't really get out. And so Amunet Black is defeated. Some of the rogues escaped, but for now, the city is safe. And so Wally reunites with Goldface. It's like, all this time living underneath Keystone and Central, running your little store, you never learned a thing about the people here, fighting off idiots like you. Just another hard day's work for us. And everyone's just like, yeah, we did it. I love stories, especially in, like, superhero movies and comics, like, where the city teams up with the hero against the villain. Like, everyone fights together. They did it in The Human Race, in The Flash, Grant Morrison. They did it in the Spider-Man movies. That's often the best parts about the Spider-Man movies, is when the city teams up with Spider-Man. It's something that I think is missing from the MCU Spider-Man, is those are the only movies where the city doesn't help Spider-Man in some way. like in Amazing Spider-Man 1, you had like all the cranes, and then in Amazing Spider-Man 2, you had the little kid dressing up as Spider-Man to help his hero. And I think there's even a moment in that where the cities are all, like, the civilians are all, like, egging on the villain and stuff. So I like that shit. I think it's great. So yeah, the cities are safe. And meanwhile, Mirror Master, Trickster, and Weather Wizard were saved by Captain Cold. And Cold appears in front of him and is like, now that you're done teaming up with that stupid woman, the Amunet Black, how's about we get a new leader? Me. Because I'm a much better leader than her. So, they decide to team up as the original rogues. The classics. And in another epilogue, Cyborg is depressed because he's Silver now. Like, you'd think it would be like, oh, he's half cyborg again. But no, the Doctor is like, we found out that, like, being in the Thinker's mind made you go from gold to silver, and unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to reverse it. You're going to be silver from now on. And Cyborg's just like, no, I don't want to be silver. Gold. I love the gold finish. Why do I have to be silver? He's just like, I guess I'm just going to have to be okay with that. I guess I'm just going to have to be okay with being silver forever in comic books. Magenta is being helped with because she came through for Wally during the battle against the Rogues. So she's getting help. So hopefully she'll be able to pull through and be a good person from now on. Probably not. She'll probably go back to being a villain again. And Linda's all good now. They gave her some tests to make sure she has all of the Thinker's mind stuff out of her, like all of his mind. The Thinker is no longer within her. And then the Doctor is like, we also found something else about you while we were doing tests. Something that we think is important to tell you. And they're like, what's that? And the Doctor is like, you're pregnant. And the final shot is of Linda and Wally just like, oh crap. Linda's pregnant. We're gonna have a child. And so yeah, that's the big cliffhanger at the end of this issue. And we'll find out what happens next in the next issue. So, The Flash, issue 189. This one actually has art by Rick Burchett and Dan Panosian. We don't have Scott Collins doing this one, unfortunately. I really like his art. This is, in my opinion, this is a step down. Like, the art is still good, like, in this, but it's a step down from Scott. I just prefer his art. So, Linda and Wally have just found out that they are having they're expecting a child. Linda is pregnant, and so they kind of have a little celebration by going skating. Wally tries to kind of like speed around while skating, and he ends up slipping over. And that's when Linda and Wally have a little bit of a discussion, because Wally's like, alright, I'm gonna head out into the city, and I'm gonna go and see everyone, because a lot happened over the last, couple of days. So I need to check in with everyone. And while I do, I'm going to pass the message on that, like, you're pregnant. And Linda's like, maybe we should wait. Like, maybe we shouldn't tell anyone yet. Let it be a surprise. And Wally's like, hey, you want to lift to school? And Linda's like, I'm waiting for that Cliff guy, the classmate. He's going to take me to school. He's a little talkative, always calls me the Princess of Keystone, which Linda doesn't sees as harmless, but it's a little weird to be calling another guy's wife the Princess of Keystone. Like, I don't know, maybe watch Cliff, or just anyone to call you that. Like, it's just a bit weird, especially someone you don't really know very well, that's just your classmate. So Wally kisses her on the forehead and then heads off to go and meet with different people throughout Central City and friends throughout Keystone. First person he meets with is Keith Kenyon, who helped Wally with the fight against the Rogues and Amunet Black. And so Keith, instead of leaving the city, is deciding to continue working in the city with his union, continuing to try and get jobs for the working class and better benefits for the working class is what I mean. yeah, he's not changing. Like, he's going to keep doing what he wants to do. And Wally's really happy with the work that he's doing. He's like, you really helped me. And you and the city. And Keith is like, we helped each other. Because that's what we do. Then Wally goes and talks to Jesse, and Jeff Johns kind of comes up with an excuse as to why he hasn't been using Jessie Quick, which is that she's just been really busy working, and like Wally says in this that they've been inviting her to dinner, and she keeps turning them down, and so he's like, why don't you come to dinner this weekend this time, like just once, because we haven't seen you in so long, and so she agrees, and then Wally goes and visits. He goes to Denver to visit Jay and Bart, who are currently living there because of the whole debacle with Joanne's cancer. It turns out Joanne's cancer, they were lied to. Her cancer wasn't as bad as they were led to believe. She's gonna be fine. When they get there, Bart is trying to, like, he's training with Jay. He tries to catch Jay, and Jay just, like, moves out of the side, like, moves aside, and Bart just goes flying. He's like, I'm supposed to be faster than you, and Jay's just like, it's not about just speed, Bart. Like, it's about stealth as well. So Wally shows up, and Bart's really excited to see Wally, and I'm really excited to see Bart because I haven't seen him in like 2 years worth of comics. Like, this is the first time Bart has officially shown up in Jeff Johns' Flash. Like, it's been over 20 issues, and he finally shows up for this one page. He takes Jay's hat while Wally and Jay are having a discussion about Joanne, and then Jay just takes it back from him, and Bart's just like, hey, didn't Mr. Terrific teach you fair play? I wasn't ready. And that's when Wally's like, how's Joanne doing? And Joanne appears behind him and is like, never better, Wally. Never better. Cookie? And so after that, Wally goes and visits Cyborg, where, like, he talks to Victor. And he's basically like, I heard about what the doctor said, how you've got cybernetic paralysis is what they are calling it, which is where he still has the clone body that allows him to make himself look human, but this cybernetic paralysis is causing him to just look like regular Cyborg forever again, and he can't go back to looking human anymore, and so he's kind of dealing with that. And he's like, it's fine, Wally, like, I don't need to look human to feel human, but it still feels like they're going backwards with Victor's character, where it's like, just let him look human if he wants to, you know? Like, you don't have to keep doing this thing of, like, oh, well, he needs to always just look like Cyborg and be okay with not being human. It's like, he finally got the ability to be both. He could look human while also still being Cyborg, and you took that away from him, and now he's just Cyborg again. And it's like, why couldn't he just have both? But again, it's comic books, so characters aren't allowed to be happy or have what they want. So Wally tells Cyborg a joke. He's just like, hey Vic, what's the best thing to do if you find Gorilla Grodd in your bed? And Vic's just like, what? Vic, sleep somewhere else. And Vic starts laughing, and Wally was like, see? That was my test to see if you're human. See you at dinner tonight, sport. Don't be late. And Victor's just like, West, you damn fool. I hear ya. And then Wally goes off and he visits Murillo and asks him about how he's doing after everything with Plunder. And then he's like, how did you survive against Plunder? Because Wally doesn't know that Murillo has healing abilities. Murillo basically just explains to Wally in the longest way possible that he's just got luck on his side. Just like, listen, taking down Plunder, let's just say, I was lucky then too. And then Wally asks Murillo, like, what he's going to be planning, and Murillo's like, I'm gonna have pizza, like, with my wife. And so Wally quickly goes off and grabs pizza for Murillo and hands it to him, and he opens it up and he's like, alright, double cheese. So Wally heads off to meet with Ira West, yes! Iris's father, and Wally calls him Gramps, I guess, because even though he's not actually his grandson, he kind of is like a grandfather to Wally. Yeah, he goes and meets Ira, who we haven't seen in a while. I wasn't even sure if he was still alive, but he is, so that's great to see. And he brings Wally in, and he's like, Iris is here. She's here with Josh because she's adopted Josh. But she's not the only one that's here. Fred Chire is here too. Fred Chire has been helping Iris look after Josh. And it's a little bit of a hint that there might be a little bit, there might be something else between Chire and Iris, because Chire is going to be taking Iris and Josh out to dinner. It's heavily hinted that Chire and Iris have either already started dating or, they are going to date. And, the average Barry Allen fan would probably be like, no! Iris can't date anyone except Barry Allen. But it's at this point in time, Barry has been dead for almost 20 years. Not within universe, but, in reality. Outside of comic books. It's about damn time Iris was able to finally move on with somebody else, and I'm fine with it being Chire because I like Fred Chire, and I'm happy that she's met somebody new. She deserves it. So I'm happy. I'm happy that they're trying something new with Iris, trying to give her a new love interest. And also her looking after Josh is great. I love that whole thing. And I'm sad that it's not gonna last because I know that eventually Barry will come back, and that'll probably change everything. Then Wally goes and he meets with Hunter Zolomon, where Hunter reveals the truth about Piper to Wally. So what happened was, the Rogue sent Wally a fake email from his father. Not Wally, Piper sent Hartley Rathaway a fake email from his father. Then Mirror Master, pretending to be Piper, went and killed Piper's parents. And then hypnotized Piper into thinking that he did it. So Piper didn't actually kill his parents. He just thinks he did. And so, because they have the evidence, they just need the warden to sign it so that they can get Piper transferred out of Iron Heights Penitentiary and then have a hearing, have the first hearing and begin the process of clearing Piper's name. So they head to Warden Wolf's office. They hand him the note that he needs to sign, and Wolf reads it, and then he takes him to the pipeline, which is where Piper is being held, and they enter his cell to find that Piper isn't in there. He managed to escape, because as we know in one of the previous issues, he called a bunch of rats into his cell, so it's assumed they helped him escape. And so now they gotta wonder where Piper is. And we immediately find out exactly where he is. At the FBI headquarters in Chicago, Jesse James, the original trickster, has now become an agent of the FBI. He enters his office and he picks up a yo-yo and starts playing around with it. He's like, "No more games, Agent Jesse James. You're playing with the corporate boys now." And behind him, a voice is like, "That's no fun, trickster, is it?" And Jesse's just like, "Who?" And this mysterious person is like, "I'm asking this as one rogue to another. I need your help. The Pied Piper." And so, yeah, Hartley Rathaway has gone to visit his old friend Jesse James, because if you didn't know, Jesse and Hartley have partnered up many times in the past, and so he's gone to Jesse for some help. So we'll find out what transpires from this in issue 190, which is an issue all about Pied Piper. So, issue 190. This one is drawn by Justiniano with art by Walden, inking by Walden Wong. But I'm also pretty sure he's not credited, but I'm pretty sure the flashback sequences that appear in this book are drawn by Scott Collins, because it seems like his art. And the inker that was often with Scott Collins. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the flashbacks are with Scott Collins and Dan Panosian, at least that's what it looks like. So Piper has gone to visit Jesse James, who now works for the FBI, in order to recruit him to help him prove his innocence, because Jesse is convinced that Piper is a murderer, because he thinks that Piper killed his own parents. So he immediately jumps at Piper and is like, I'm not going to help you, like, I'm not a criminal anymore, I work for the FBI now. So Piper fights back in self-defense. He calls in a bunch of rats, which will swarm themselves over Jesse, and then a couple of Jesse's fellow FBI members come crashing in, and Piper uses his music on them to control their minds, and he almost gets them to shoot each other. But Jesse's like, no, don't! Like, they're good people, they have kids, they have families! And so instead, Piper gets them to knock each other out with their guns instead of shoot each other. And Piper is just like, all I want is your help. Like, I'm innocent. Like, that's all I want. He's like, if you're innocent, why are you running? He's like, what happened to me inside those walls? They'll send me back to Iron Heights. It's a horrible place. I won't go back, ever. Now I hear more of your cohorts coming, about 50 feet down the hall. Time to sing. And he grabs out a little whistle. Or it's not a whistle. It's a divining rod. And he hits it, and it creates an earth-shattering sound that shatters the windows, allowing him to escape. But before he escapes, Jesse grabs his ankle and places a little T on his ankle, like a little tracking device, without Piper realizing. And Piper escapes while Jesse's just kind of like, gotcha. Piper heads into the sewers, where he starts talking about his past and stuff, and the current situation that he's in with his parents being dead. We get a little bit of a flashback and some retconning to Piper's history. The biggest one being the fact that he was born deaf. So it is now canon that Piper has a disability. He's deaf. He was deaf since he was a child, and his parents couldn't, like, have an imperfect child, so they kept sending him to different it's really sad. They sent him to different doctors to try and fix his hearing. He ends up meeting Will Magnus, the creator of the Metal Man, and Magnus succeeds in helping Piper's hearing by installing this these micro robotics into his ear that fix his hearing and allow him to hear. But it doesn't just fix his hearing. Another retcon is that Piper actually has super hearing. He just hasn't really displayed it before this. But yeah, he has super hearing. He can hear cars from miles away. He eventually got fed up with his parents trying, expecting him to be perfect. So he ended up leaving, and that's when he ended up falling into crime. It's kind of like that rebellious nature of, like, your parents want you to be perfect, so you strive to end up being the opposite of that, just to rebel against them. So he tries out crime, and gets thwarted by Barry Allen, and then he meets the Rogues, and he joins up with them, and then eventually, after Barry Allen dies, that's kind of what, like, kicks Piper in the head, and is kind of like, I gotta get my life straight. And so he makes up with his parents, and then he starts trying to do good, you know? He starts helping the homeless and stuff, and then he ends up meeting Wally, and he becomes good friends with Wally West, and we know everything else after that, you know, getting framed for his parents' death and stuff. So Wally and Hunter are working with Jesse James to try and, find Piper so that they can prove his innocence, because they can't do that without him. But what they don't know is that Jesse James has already met with Piper, so Jesse is lying to them. And then Jesse meets with a mysterious person in his office, and this mysterious person is like, the project, I think it's time we got started. So, you know, there's this mysterious thing going on with Jesse James that we don't know about yet. Heatwave is no longer working for Cadmus Labs, but he's not a bad guy. He's instead taking out criminals and stuff, trying to get by on, like, bounties, I guess, using his heat-based tech. He takes down these criminals that are trying to transport drugs, and he ends up, like, burning all the drugs. And that's when Piper shows up. behind him. Kind of startles him. Heatwave draws his gun on him, and then he's just like, "Oh, Piper, like, you're one of the good ones. Like, good to see you again, pal. Like, let's hang out for a bit and have a chat." And so he and Piper, hang out for a bit. They have, like, a cup of tea with each other, and Piper's like, "I need a place to lay low. I know you're, like, an ex-con, so I thought your place might be the best place to lay low." And Heatwave is like, "My place is always open to you, but, like, you should go back and see Wally, because he's one of the good ones. Like, he's a good nut. So, you should go see him and tell him what's going on and get his help, because he really cares about you, and it's very clear that you care about him." And Piper's like, "Maybe you're right. Maybe I should have gone and seen Wally." And that's when the FBI crash into Heatwave's house, and Jesse comes in, and he's like, "I put a tracer in your boot, so that's how I knew exactly where you are." And he's like, and Mick is just like, "Gonna arrest us then, Trickster?" And Jesse's just like, "Actually, Hotshot, I have a proposition for the both of you." And then he calls Hunter Zolomon and Wally West and lies to them and is basically like, "Our efforts are fruitless, like, we haven't been able to find Piper." And so Hunter and Wally are like, "Okay, well, thanks for all your help. I'm pretty sure the Trickster is lying to us. I can tell because Jesse is using his happy voice, but why is he lying to us? Like, what is he hiding?" And then all of a sudden, a massive earthquake happens. Hunter's just like, "What the hell was that? Earthquake?" And Wally's just like, "No, not an earthquake." And he looks out the window, and a giant beanstalk erupts from the ground. Definitely not an earthquake. So, issue 191. Cliff and Linda find themselves stuck in traffic while Cliff is bringing Linda to her class. Long story short, it's no surprise, or at least it kind of is a surprise to me, just because I'd completely forgotten this character existed. Cliff is actually Brother Grimm, because I forgot that Brother Grimm's real name is Cliff, like is Clifford. I thought he was the Thinker because his real name is also Clifford, so I was like, oh, it's like a younger version of the Thinker that, he created using his AI to trick Linda and get in on that whole thing. But no, it's actually Brother Grimm. And it makes sense because Brother Grimm was trying to get Linda to be his princess. It's also why Cliff keeps calling her princess. So a giant beanstalk has grown upwards from the ground within Keystone City, causing all sorts of traffic issues. Jaron Murillo and Hunter Zolomon have all arrived to try and figure out what's going on. And then the Flash arrives, and he instantly knows that it's Brother Grimm. Because he's like, a giant beanstalk, it's Brother Grimm. Because his whole thing is fairy tales. And then, from the giant beanstalk, giant purple dragons show up. 3 of them. And just start destroying everything with fire. But Flash can't fight them alone. Hawkman shows up. Carter Hall. He shows up and just stabs one of the dragons in the neck. Like up through his jaw. It's pretty gnarly. It's pretty awesome. He's just like, "This creature is mine!" And he just stabs him. So, Wally decides to help Hawkman with taking down these dragons. He also wants to impress Hawkman, because Hawkman is a well-known superhero within the community who's been around for years, literally centuries. He grabs a chain. He wraps it around the neck of one of the dragons. It's like, "Hey, Hogman, good to see you. I said hi." And then Hogman's just like, "Get down, Flash!" And he smashes the dragon's head with his mace. And then Cliff reveals himself to Linda, that he's actually Brother Grimm, and that he wants to make Linda his princess, and that he can promise to look after her more than the Flash ever could. He's like, "You might not remember me, but I put you under a spell." She's like, "Let go of me, freak." Ever so beautiful. A massive explosion happens, and the dust settles, and it's Hawkman standing on top of the dragon because he just smashed it into the ground. He's just like, "Stay." The dragon's just covered in green blood. And Wally's just like, "Good idea, ground the lizards. That's 2, where's the 3rd? Hawkman's like, in the clouds. I've dealt with things like this before." I was in the Brontodon. And that's when he, like, explains to Wally how he came here, like, why he's even here. Because Wally's like, how did you even get here? And he's like, I was in the Brontodon, my ship. You know, I was heading to Scent Rock when I intercepted the newscast, saw a familiar image, flew here, put her on autopilot, and grabbed my mace. It's like, alright, I appreciate it. Like, not often you get help from the chairman of the Justice Society. And he's like, I'm not chairman anymore. I'm just a member. Let's go up the beanstalk and face Brother Grimm. So, Hawkman flies Wally up to the top of the beanstalk, where they come face to face with Brother Grimm. Linda manages to get out of his arms, and that's when Brother Grimm finds out that she's pregnant with Wally's child, and he pulls out a sword and is like, I can deal with that. You know, I'll give you an abortion. And Linda's like, no, I don't want that. I have the right to pick. And so Wally tries to punch Brother Grimm. Brother Grimm's just like, didn't you learn anything from our last encounter? Like, I can see every move that you make whenever you use the Speed Force. And Wally's like, alright, I did forget. I guess plan B. We gotta cut down that beanstalk. So, Hawkman's like, you cut down the beanstalk, I'll deal with Brother Grimm. And then Wally's like, no, this is personal. I'm dealing with Brother Grimm. You cut down the beanstalk. So it's kind of cool seeing Wally be more authoritative, especially to someone like Hawkman, where it's like, you don't often, like, it's not easy to tell Hawkman what to do. He's a very, like, headstrong person. But he respects Wally, and so he listens to him and goes to cut down the beanstalk. But a bunch of vines come out and wrap themselves around Hawkman, making it a little bit trickier for him to do. Wally fights Brother Grimm and beats him pretty easily. He just beats the snot out of him. Punches him in the face multiple times. And Hawkman manages to break out of the vines, and then he cuts down the beanstalk, and it works. The beanstalk gets cut down, and then Brother Grimm starts fading out of reality back to his own world, and all the dragons fade away, and all of the mythic, like the fairy tale creatures that were brought with the Brother Grimm all fade away, and it's all over. Except Linda and Wally were high up in the sky, and now that the beanstalk is gone, they're gonna plummet to their death. But they're saved by Hawkman, and he carries them to the ground. And Wally's like, wow, like, I didn't know you were so good at cutting down beanstalks. And he's like, yeah, I had a little bit of history with that. There was a time in a past life, where I fought a giant 4 times the size of that man. And Wally's just like, your name wasn't Jack, was it? And Hawkman's like, good guess. He's like, hey, you're joking, right? He's joking, right? And Linda's like, oh, Wally, you're so cute when you're confused. And she kisses him on the face, and Wally's just left like, bruh. I just think that's such a funny ending, is the possibility that Hawkman is Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. You don't know whether or not he's joking. I like to think he's not joking. I like to think that he really was Jack. Like that Jack. Like, because that's just funny to me. And he's lived so many lives. It's possible. So we head to Iron Heights Penitentiary after that, where Wolf is determined to keep Peekaboo in prison. So he's doing everything he can to keep her in. It sounds really messed up. He's like, drug her, do whatever you have to keep her here. We're not letting any more prisoners escape. And just as he says that, we find that Gorilla Grodd normally has these cables in him that stop him from being able to use his mind powers. He's managed to pull them out, which means that his mind powers have been fully activated, and he's ready to escape. And so we end on this cliffhanger of Gorilla Grodd's mind powers flaring, and we'll find out what happens in the next issue. But that's going to be it for this week. We're going to have to wait until next week to see what happens with that, because that's the end of this episode of Flash Forward. Overall, this was a good, like, group of issues. Like, I think the John's run, what it definitely succeeds at the most is creating stories involving the rogues and making the rogues more compelling characters. But unfortunately, what we lose is Linda. Johns just isn't very good at writing her. The most we've gotten out of her character throughout this run is that she quit her job. She's become a student at medical school, and we don't even get to see any of that. Like, we've seen her in class once, and, like, if you're gonna have her go to medical school and have that be the next step in her character, can we at least see it? Can we see more of that? You know, and then the only other story thing she's really gotten is the love triangle with Cliff, which again was... I know it was to set up the Brother Grimm issue, but it was still kind of unnecessary, and it's just like, yeah, like, whatever, who cares? That's over now, it's all good, we don't care about that anymore. I'm just bummed that Linda doesn't feel as important to the Flash title as she used to. Like, she used to be the driving force of most of the stories, like her relationship with Wally. And she still is, technically, because Wally is trying to protect her, but she's just not there as much. You know, the entire, like, event that we just read, Crossfire, you know, she's out of it the whole time. Like, she's not helping in any way, and that sucks. Like, I liked how in the Wade run and the Mesner-Lopes run, like, she was always there helping Wally, and it helped that she was a reporter. I think Johns kind of wrote himself into a corner, making her quit reporting, because now she has no reason to be a part of these crossover events other than just being a damsel in distress. And I'm afraid that this pregnancy thing is John's writing himself into another corner where I'm afraid that once Linda becomes a mum, that's all she's going to be. Like, she's just going to be reduced to, she's the Flash's wife, and she's just the mum. And that's it. And she's just stay-at-home mum, or nurse, I guess, who doesn't do anything interesting outside of that. That's what I'm afraid is going to happen to Linda, and I feel like that is what's happening to Linda. She's definitely been typecasted as the wife character now, and it sucks that that's happened. Especially because in the Wade run, it was fully established as a part of Linda's character that she didn't want to end up being known as the Flash's wife. That was the thing she was most afraid of. There was many conversations that she had with Wally where she was like, promise me that, like, I'm not gonna just end up being known as your wife and that's it. Like, that's not what I want to be. I want to be my own person. I want to be Linda Park West, not the wife of the Flash. And she's become that. It's just completely gone against her own wishes as a character or what was established. So that's my thoughts on the whole thing with Linda at the moment. But everything else I've enjoyed so far. I've enjoyed the new characters. I've enjoyed Crossfire. I enjoyed the latter stories after that. The stuff with Pied Piper has been great so far. I've been really enjoying that. There was a moment where I was afraid that Johns was also going to retcon Piper to being a criminal again. I'm glad that he's kind of in a grey area at the moment, skewing more towards good than bad. And I'm hoping that eventually his character just gets back on track and this all kind of blows over eventually. And things go back to the status quo of Piper is Wally's best friend and his life is, you know, pretty normal. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. And next week we're going to be continuing Jeff Johns' Flash with issue 192. So yeah, we're just going to be continuing on. Because it's going to be a while before we get to another event. I'm thinking we're probably going to go up until... Because I know we've eventually got Rogue War. So that's going to be there's going to be a point where we stop right before Rogue War, and that's going to be like a video itself. And then that'll probably go up till Infinite Crisis, or maybe Identity Crisis. I don't know, because we've got Identity Crisis coming up as well, so I've got to prepare for that. We'll see how it goes. I'll figure it out. So I'll see you next week for more Flash. Have a good one.